LoveLore Library. Chapter 1040. Hello. Mother Yang didn't expect that Yuchi from Fifth Uncle's mouth would be so sloppy. I say, old cousin, this big city is really different. The girls are so fashionable. It's much better than our home. Yuchi patted Yang Ming's shoulder and said casually. He didn't seem to mind that Mother Yang was on the side. Look at the girl in front. She's really coquettish. It's winter and she's wearing a leather skirt. TSK, fifth cousin, let's get in the car. It's cold outside. Yang Ming's face was very thick, but in front of his mother, he couldn't associate with fifth cousin. Moreover, this fifth cousin was really vulgar, which made Yang Ming somewhat uncomfortable. Get in the car, get in the car. Where is the car? Yuchi carried a leather box and looked around. It's here. Yang Ming pointed to the van not far away. Damn, I say, old cousin, are you serious? You drive this car at home? Yuchi saw the van and looked incredulous. My father drives an Audi A6, and you are sitting in this broken van. Yang Ming saw that his mother's face wasn't very good, so he coughed twice and said to Yuchi, fifth cousin, my mother is afraid that you have a lot of things and can't fit in the car, so she specially drove a van. Oh, is that so? I'm sorry, it's a dog race. Yuchi said. What? Yang Ming was stunned. What dog race? Japanese, it means sorry. Isn't it said in AV? Yuchi's voice was sharp as he imitated the voice of the female lead in the movie. Gomenasai. Yang Ming was disgusted. This fifth cousin is really a character. Letting this kind of person come to the city to experience, isn't it just making things difficult for me? Fortunately, I managed to get him into Hoshin Han's entertainment company. Otherwise, if he was in my father's company, my father would probably be pissed off. Well, fifth cousin, let's not talk about this. Let's get in the car first. I'll take you to familiarize yourself with the company you work for. Yang Ming didn't want to be with this fifth cousin for a moment. He had nothing in common with this kind of person. Mother Yang originally wanted to chat with Yuchi to familiarize herself with him, but after hearing his shocking words, she changed her mind. I say, old cousin, which company did you arrange for me to work in? Tell me, are there any pretty girls in there? After getting in the car, Yuchi was still talking non-stop. The company I arranged for you is a friend's company. Fifth cousin, you'd better work hard when you go there. Otherwise, don't go. Yang Ming felt that it was necessary to make things clear in advance. Hey, I know. Fifth cousin waved his hand. I understand. I'm your cousin. After I go there, I'm a relative of the royal family. You know that I'm just here to deal with my father. I don't really want to work. Fifth cousin, I'm serious about what I said to you. After you go there, you have to be good. Don't be so sloppy. Moreover, the company is not my father's, but a friend's. Yang Ming interrupted fifth cousin's words and said very seriously. Okay, I understand. Although Yuchi said so, he disagreed in his heart. Right, old cousin, what is the company you arranged for me to do? Fifth cousin, you can call me cousin or Yang Ming in the future. It doesn't matter if it's Yang Daming, but don't say that old cousin. Why do I feel so awkward when I hear it? Yang Ming was not used to the title of old cousin. It sounded weird. The company you are going to work for is an entertainment company. Before Yang Ming finished his words, Yuchi immediately interrupted after listening, entertainment company. An entertainment company is good. Is it like the entertainment companies in Hong Kong? Do they have many little stars? Ha, this is great. I can play with stars. There were 3 black lines on Yang Ming's forehead. He stopped Yuchi from continuing. Fifth cousin, you misunderstood. An entertainment company doesn't mean that kind of entertainment company. It operates some nightclubs, hotels, and other entertainment venues. Oh. Yuichi was slightly disappointed after hearing it, but he said, there must be a lot of sisters in the company, right? I don't know about this. Yang Ming said perfunctorily. Ha, I know. Old cousin, brother, are you afraid that second aunt will hear it? Yuichi put his hand on Yang Ming's shoulder and whispered, when we have time, brother will teach you the secret of sisters. No need. Yang Ming didn't want to have too much to do with Yuichi. The first impression that this fifth cousin gave him was too bad, and the whole person had an indescribable ruffian aura. Although Yang Ming also mingled in the underworld, he was different from Yuichi. Yang Ming had the kind of cynical aura, but Yuichi had the kind of wretched style of a second generation. Yang Ming brought Yuichi to Ming Yang Entertainment and handed him directly to Ho Jinhan. After a few words, they left the company. Yang Ming really didn't want to have any more contact with Yuichi. Although Yang Ming and Ho Jinhan didn't say many words, Yuichi still heard Ho Jinhan call him Brother Yang. Originally, he was thinking about whether to pretend in the company for a few days, but at this moment, he gave up this idea. The company's manager calls his cousin brother. Shouldn't he call me big cousin brother? Mom, the job that fifth uncle found for you is really not good. On the way back, Yang Ming finally couldn't help but complain, if it's like this, if I go to Dad's company, won't I be laughed at by my colleagues? Mother Yang's expression wasn't very good. She didn't know that Yuichi would be like this. Big Ming, forget it. Fifth uncle isn't easy. He already told us about Yuichi's character, so there's nothing strange about it. I hope he can learn well. Hope. Yang Ming shook his head. It seemed unlikely. Yang Ming didn't want him to learn well. Yang Ming hoped that he would struggle in the company for 2 days and then quickly get out. Yang Ming didn't have time to serve this kind of person. The Hawkeye Group's butler knocked on Ouyang Junyuan's office door. Come in. Ouyang Junyuan was annoyed. The company's affairs were not what he was good at. What he was good at was eating, drinking, and having fun. Letting him do business. It was simply nonsense. However, his elder brother was dead, and this heavy burden fell on him, so he had to sit in the company every day. Although there were professional managers, Ouyang Junyuan also knew that if these people didn't supervise them, who knew what they would do to the company? All of this was thanks to Yang Ming. Every time he thought of this name, Ouyang Junyuan hated him to the bone. He couldn't wait to kill him, but Ouyang Junyuan also calmed down a lot. He was no longer as reckless as before. Since his father and Delay Man 001 were not Yang Ming's opponents, it was simply a fool's dream to kill Yang Ming with his current strength. If he looked for Yang Ming for revenge, it would be better to look for Yang Ming to die, so Ouyang Junyuan would never do such a stupid thing. Ouyang Junyuan thought that it was the professional managers who brought the documents to ask him to sign, but when he looked up, he saw the Hawkeye Group's butler. He was stunned and immediately said, "Old butler, why are you here?" The Hawkeye Group's butler closed the office door and then locked it from the inside. He walked to Ouyang Junyuan and said, "Second young master, a friend of mine in the assassin world said that he can contact the world's top assassin group, the Butterfly Assassin Group." Butterfly Assassin Group. After Ouyang Junyuan heard it, he was excited and asked, "Is it the Butterfly Assassin Group that is second only to the King of Assassins, but the overall strength is the first?" "Yes, it's them." The Hawkeye Group's butler nodded. "My friend is an assassin intermediary. He has some connections with the world's major assassin groups. This time, it seems that I have found the right person." "Good." Ouyang Junyuan nodded and said, "Then ask him to help contact the Butterfly Assassin Group. This time, I want to see if Yang Ming will die or not." "But..." "Second young master, this person is an intermediary. He may charge a lot of intermediary fees," said the Hawkeye Group's butler. "Intermediary fee? Give him as much as he wants, as long as he can find me a really powerful assassin." Ouyang Junyuan said indifferently, "If you want money, I have it. The key is whether you can kill Yang Ming." "Okay, I understand. I will contact him now." The Hawkeye Group's butler nodded and said, "Contact him now. Immediately." "Old butler, I can't wait. When I think about Yang Ming being finished, I feel happy in my heart." Ouyang Junyuan seemed to be relieved from the stuffiness in his chest. He suddenly felt lighter. "Right, don't forget. Kill the woman around Yang Ming too. And you must kill her." The old butler took out his mobile phone and started to contact his friend who was an assassin intermediary. "Mr. Smith. It's me, the Hawkeye Group's number 2. Yes, it's the mission I told you about last time." The old butler conveyed Ouyang Junyuan's message to Mr. Smith. Of course, Mr. Smith's real name was definitely not Smith. This was just a code name. In the assassin business, few people used their real names. Smith said something over there, and the old butler hung up the phone with satisfaction. "How is it?" Ouyang Junyuan asked impatiently. "There should be no problem." The old butler of the Hawkeye Assassin Group said, "Mr. Smith said that this is a very common mission, and Yang Ming is not a celebrity in the political and business world. There is no difficulty. The Butterfly Assassin Group should not refuse. Now we just wait for the news." After Ouyang Junyuan listened, his face showed a happy smile. In his opinion, Yang Ming was already a dead man. Can the world's first assassin group not deal with Yang Ming? Obviously, it is impossible. Chapter 1041. Half an hour later, Smith's call came back. The old butler quickly picked up the phone. "Hello, Mr. Smith. The Butterfly Assassin Group has accepted your mission. You send the details of the target to my mailbox. The commission for the mission is $2 million. I will charge $200,000 as an intermediary fee." Smith said, "The original commission is $1.5 million, but you added one more person. Although it is just a woman, the commission has to be increased accordingly." "Okay, I understand." The old butler was relieved after hearing the price. This price was acceptable to them. "Is there any problem?" asked Smith. "No, I will send the information to your email in a while. The commission and intermediary fee will be remitted to your account," said the old butler. "Okay, I look forward to working with you," said Smith. The old butler hung up the phone and told Ouyang Junyuan what Smith meant. Ouyang Junyuan nodded after listening. "The price is really not expensive. My dad should have hired someone to kill Yang Ming. Why do it himself?" The old butler couldn't help but smile bitterly after listening. Who could have expected that Yang Ming was so powerful? Even Delay Man 001 was not his opponent. Ouyang Junyuan didn't say anything more. After all, it was too late to say anything now. Only by killing Yang Ming could he relieve the hatred in his heart. He asked the old butler to withdraw the money from the finance department and remit it to Smith. Then, he began to wait quietly for the news. Today was the day when Zhou Jiejie and Lin Zhiyun came back. These days, Chen Mengyan lived in her own home. Yang Ming simply hung out in Wang Xiaoyan's boudoir. The two cultivated the tacit understanding of cooperation and were never tired of it. The boss behind the woman in black didn't seem to have any more changes. Yang Ming's security system was installed, but no one else entered Wang Xiaoyan's house except for him. "I'm leaving. Be careful." In the morning, Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan finished breakfast together. Yang Ming said with some reluctance. It was impossible to say that he had no feelings for Wang Xiaoyan. Yang Ming was also more and more curious about her family, but Wang Xiaoyan didn't want to talk about it. Yang Ming didn't ask more. Wang Xiaoyan and Yang Ming also had the same mood. They didn't know why, but their hearts were sour. Yang Ming's two girlfriends came back, so Yang Ming would have less time to accompany her in the future. Yang Ming knew that he would be sad at this moment. To ease the atmosphere, he joked, "Come, let's hug. It is a goodbye hug. Go to hell. You want to take advantage of me again." Wang Xiaoyan couldn't help but laugh. "Okay, but after you leave, don't forget about the assassin group. Don't worry. Half of the assassin group is also mine." Yang Ming nodded and said. After coming out of Wang Xiaoyan's villa, Yang Ming drove to the highway. Although President Hua would definitely send a car to send him, Yang Ming couldn't wait to greet them. Zhou Jiejie had been very confused these days. She was confused about what happened to her a while ago. She had the habit of keeping a diary. She used to write in the diary, but later, she changed to writing on the computer. In Yang Ming's villa, although the facilities in her room were copied from her own home in Donghai, everything was newly bought, including the computer. So, even if Zhou Jiejie wanted to check the diary she wrote during this time, she couldn't do it. When she returned home, Zhou Jiejie couldn't wait to open her diary from a while ago and read it. But the more she read, the more puzzled Zhou Jiejie was. The things recorded in the diary didn't have any deviation or discrepancy with what happened in my memory. My mother asked me to be on good terms with Wang Jitao. I sneaked into Wang Jitao's home to collect evidence. Until I blocked the bullet for Yang Ming, the contents of the diary were completely consistent with my memory. In other words, I shouldn't have been Yang Ming's girlfriend before, and I shouldn't have experienced such a ridiculous thing as transmigration. Then, why did Yang Ming say that I was his girlfriend before? Although when I was injured, Yang Ming promised me that he would accept me, that was also a different concept from being his girlfriend before. Moreover, even Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun said so. Could it be that all three of them transmigrated? This idea was too crazy. It was almost impossible. Today was the day to return to Songjiang. In these 2 days, Zhou Jiejie thought about a lot of things in the past, but there were still no similarities. So, on the way back to Songjiang, she finally couldn't help but say to Lin Jiyun, "Sister Lin, I have something to ask you. You won't lie to me, right?" "Ah. What's the matter?" Lin Jiyun was stunned and looked at Zhou Jiejie in confusion. She didn't understand what Zhou Jiejie wanted to ask her. She was so mysterious. "You tell me first. Will you lie to me?" Zhou Jiejie didn't say anything but asked. Because from the contact with Lin Jiyun in these 2 days, she also saw what kind of person Lin Jiyun was. This was a girl who wasn't good at lying. "Of course not. Sister Jiejie, what do you want to ask me?" Lin Jiyun shook her head and asked. "Sister Lin, you said that before I was hospitalized, I was Yang Ming's girlfriend, right?" Zhou Jiejie raised her head and looked into Lin Jiyun's eyes. Lin Jiyun was a little flustered by Zhou Jiejie's stare. She turned her head and felt a little uneasy. However, this was what she had agreed with Yang Ming and Chen Mengyan, so she had to bite the bullet and nodded. "Yes. What's wrong? Is this really the case?" Seeing Lin Jiyun's flustered expression, Zhou Jiejie smiled in her heart. Chapter 1042. At the exit of the highway, Yang Ming finally saw Zhou Jiejie's family car. He quickly got out of the car and greeted them. "Yang Ming is there." Lin Jiyun saw Yang Ming from afar. She excitedly pulled Zhou Jiejie's hand and said, She hadn't seen Yang Ming for a few days, and she missed him very much. Although she was sometimes busy with the company's affairs, and she didn't see Yang Ming for a few days, both of them were in Songjiang, so she didn't feel anything. In these 2 days, the two of them were in different places, but their moods were different. Zhou Jiejie naturally saw Yang Ming, but her mood was very complicated now. She had the impulse to tell Yang Ming everything, but she was afraid that she would lose her current life. Living with Yang Ming every day, going to school together, and going to school together. Wasn't this the life she was looking forward to? She used to be very envious of Suya. Now that she had it, she wanted to have more. Sister Jiejie. What's wrong with you? Lin Jiyun was excited, but she also found that Zhou Jiejie's mood didn't seem to be high, so she asked quickly. Nothing. Zhou Jiejie shook her head and smiled. Let's go. Let's get out of the car. The two of them got out of the car hand in hand. Yang Ming also greeted them. Little Yun, did you miss me? Lin Jiyun suddenly blushed. Yang Ming's address to her was getting more and more embarrassing. However, Lin Jiyun still whispered, Then, let's hug. Yang Ming opened his arms and hugged Lin Jiyun in his arms before she could react. Lin Jiyun wanted to break away, but Yang Ming had already let go of her. After all, there were more people here. Yang Ming didn't want to become the object of others' ridicule. Dear Jiejie, how about you? Did you miss me? Yang Ming turned his head and continued to ask Zhou Jiejie. Originally, Zhou Jiejie was still a little disappointed. Yang Ming came up and flirted with Lin Jiyun, leaving her aside. Zhou Jiejie was somewhat envious, but she couldn't help it. She sighed in her heart. Sure enough, Yang Ming still treats me differently from others. But she didn't expect that Yang Ming turned his head and began to ask her. Zhou Jiejie's heart was suddenly happy. Her eyebrows were full of excitement. She raised her head up and nodded excitedly. Come on. Let's hug too. Yang Ming smiled and said, I am a person who always favors one over another. Zhou Jiejie hesitated. Although she had decided to lay her cards on the table with Yang Ming, she still let Yang Ming hug her. In other words, she took the initiative to throw herself into Yang Ming's arms. She was very infatuated with this feeling. Yang Ming's embrace made her feel at ease. It gave her a sense of belonging that she had never had before. I don't know if it will still belong to me in the future. Yang Ming changed the luggage of the two people to his car. The BMW that was damaged by little girl Wang had been repaired. A bright red Audi R8 drove into the parking lot of the restaurant and stopped in the empty space next to him. The sweat on Yang Ming's forehead suddenly came out. Isn't this the car of the little fox, Sun Jie? Why did she come here? Sure enough, seeing the automatic door of the Audi R8 slowly open, Sun Jie jumped down from the driver's seat. She was as sexy as usual. In the passenger seat, there was also a beautiful young woman in her 30s. She was dignified and generous. Who else could it be but Xiao Qing? How did these two people end up together? Could it be that after having a threesome with me, they are playing Yuri Love again? Hee, Yang Ming thought lasciviously, but then he remembered that now wasn't the time to let his imagination run wild. Xiao Qing was fine, but it was hard to say about Sun Jie, this coquettish fox. If she said something inappropriate in front of Lin Jiyun and Zhou Jiejie, the two innocent girls would report it to Qin Mengyan. Wouldn't my home immediately become the battlefield of a world war? Sister Xiao Qing, Sister Sun Jie, how are you? What a coincidence. Yang Ming decided to make the first move and took the initiative to say hello. Then, he desperately winked at Sun Jie and Xiao Qing. Xiao Qing naturally saw the two girls behind Yang Ming and sighed slightly. Every girl around Yang Ming was so outstanding. However, she wasn't like Sun Jie. She was Yang Ming's god-sister. She didn't want to fight for anything, and she didn't have any other thoughts. So, she nodded to Yang Ming with a normal expression. Yang Ming, school starts tomorrow, right? When do you have time to go to Godfather's place? At night, I will go to you at night. Let's go together. Yang Ming thought about what was going to happen at night, and he was a little excited. However, he suddenly saw Sun Jia on the side looking at him with a smile. He was shocked. How could I forget about her? My head hurts. Yang Ming, what happened to your eyes? Is it broken? Sun Jia looked at Yang Ming with concern. Come, let your sister help you take a look. No, nothing. Yang Ming sweated. He thought, I'm winking at you to tell you not to talk nonsense. Don't say that you don't understand. Isn't this creating trouble for me? However, he couldn't say it out loud. He had to say, I just had sand in my eyes. It will be fine after blinking. As Yang Ming said this, he pretended to rub his eyes. Sun Jia glanced at Lin Jiyun with a smile and looked at Zhou Jijia. Then, she whispered in Yang Ming's ear, not bad. You changed 2 more. Do you want to have a threesome? However, when she said the word threesome, her voice was a bit loud. A few black lines suddenly appeared on Yang Ming's head. He knew that Sun Jia was retaliating against him for using Xiao Qing's QQ to talk to her last time. Sun Jia, what do you want? Yang Ming asked helplessly. I'll let you go today. I'll deal with you another day. Sun Jia snorted. Then, her voice returned to normal. Sister Xiao Qing and I heard that there was a new hot pot restaurant here, so we plan to try it. You can go ahead. I won't bother you. Oh, Sister Xiao Qing, Sister Sun Jia, goodbye. Yang Ming waved his hand with relief. He took Lin Jiyun and Zhou Jijia and walked quickly into the hot pot restaurant. Zhou Jijia had never seen Sun Jia and Xiao Qing. She wondered about their relationship with Yang Ming. It seemed a bit unusual, but it didn't seem to be. Especially when Xiao Qing said godfather, she guessed that they might be siblings. However, that Sun Jia was a bit suspicious. At first glance, she should be a very arrogant person, but her tone when she talked to Yang Ming was so ambiguous, forget it. Zhou Jijia shook her head. Anyway, these have nothing to do with me. Who cares about them? However, Lin Jiyun had some impression of Sun Jia. On Valentine's Day, she went out with Yang Ming and met Sun Jia. Of course, it was very far away. Lin Jiyun didn't see Sun Jia or Xiao Qing clearly. She only had an impression of this Audi R8 sports car. In fact, Lin Jiyun didn't know the model of the car. The reason why she had a deep impression of this car was not because she saw it once on Valentine's Day, but because she and Yang Ming went to Donghai once. They drove this car and encountered a car accident. Chapter 1043. Therefore, Lin Jiyun was particularly familiar with this car. She even memorized the license plate number. She could lend the car to Yang Ming, and she didn't complain when Yang Ming was hit like that. This in itself showed that her relationship with Yang Ming wasn't shallow, not to mention that they had met on Valentine's Day, which was even more telling. However, Lin Jiyun wasn't the kind of woman who gossiped and was jealous, so even if she saw Sun Jia appear in front of her, Lin Jiyun didn't feel anything. Instead, she envied Sun Jia's nobility and dignity. When she talked to Yang Ming, she revealed her charm and sexiness. During this time in the company, Lin Jiyun would surf the internet in her free time, browsing some forums or places like Tiba. She once saw a post that said that men liked this kind of two-faced woman. She was a lady outside, but she was a slut at home. Sun Jia obviously met this requirement. This was a fickle woman, but Lin Jiyun wasn't jealous of her. Instead, she was very envious of her. Of course, the biggest reason why Lin Jiyun had a good impression of Sun Jia was that although this woman was very good, she wasn't overbearing. She didn't ask for anything when she met Yang Ming and her together twice. In fact, Lin Jiyun misunderstood Sun Jia. How was Sun Jia not overbearing? It was just that she hadn't determined that she would be with Yang Ming in the future. Once she was sure, maybe a little strategy could drive Lin Jiyun away from Yang Ming. However, it might be effective for others, but it was impossible for Yang Ming. No matter what the situation was, Yang Ming wouldn't give up another woman for a woman. If Sun Jia knew that Yang Ming and Chen Mengyan had a conflict because of Lan Ling, she wouldn't have similar thoughts. Yang Ming, why don't you accompany them? Lin Jiyun saw that Sun Jia and Xiao Qing had gone far away. She whispered to Yang Ming, every time you meet them, you ignore them. It's not good, right? Ugh. It's okay. Didn't I say it before? I'm going to find Sister Xiao Qing tonight. Yang Ming said with some embarrassment. He didn't expect Lin Jiyun's mind to be so exquisite and think so much. I'm not talking about Sister Xiao Qing, but Sister Sunday. Lin Jiyun shook her head and said, she is your girlfriend, right? Ugh. Yang Ming suddenly felt awkward. He didn't expect Lin Jiyun to notice it, but it was no wonder. Xiao Qing naturally had to draw a clear line with him in front of others to prevent others from gossiping. However, Sun Jia was different. She didn't care about anything now, and her father had agreed. Sun Jia didn't have to avoid anything, so she inevitably revealed some special tone in her tone. Perhaps she didn't notice it, but Lin Jiyun was sensitive enough to notice it. Sister Jia and I won't say anything. Lin Jiyun was afraid that Yang Ming would be worried, so she added another sentence. Jiyun, I don't mean that. Yang Ming shook his head and smiled. I will find time to accompany her, but now the main purpose is to accompany you. Just like when I accompany her, you won't ask me to accompany you, right? After Lin Jiyun listened to Yang Ming's words, she thought about it. It was true, so she no longer insisted and entered the hot pot restaurant with Yang Ming. Sun Jia and Xiao Qing probably had a reservation. They went directly to the private room on the second floor, but it was not surprising. Although the Sun family's power was in Donghai, as Sun Jia's identity became transparent among Bao Sanli and others, Sun Jia began to be popular in Songjiang. Her network was even stronger than Yang Ming's. After all, Yang Ming's current identity was only known by a small group of people. It was not as public as Sun Jia. Sun Jia's original identity, coupled with the respect of Bao Sanli and Ho Jinhan, made Sun Jia's status in Songjiang's business world soar. Therefore, it was just a small matter to book a private room in a restaurant like now. Yang Ming did not use these social connections because it was not necessary. Yang Ming was still a student. He didn't want to become the object of attention. Zhou Jiajia, Lin Jiyun, and Zhou Jiajia found a good place. They ordered a table of dishes and began to eat. The hot pot dishes were all prepared, so there was no need to wait. They could start eating as soon as they were served. Yang Ming and the others just sat down. Yang Ming was about to call the waiter to order drinks, but he was shocked when he looked up. Wang Xiaoyan was holding Zhao Ying's hand and entering the hot pot restaurant. Yang Ming suddenly sweated on his forehead. What happened today? Did I not look at the Chinese calendar when I went out? Why am I so unlucky? First, it was Xiao Qing and Sun Jia. Now, it is Xiao Ying and Wang Xiaoyan. Why are they all together? It's only Lan Ling and Chen Mengyan who are here. Zhao Ying and Wang Xiaoyan obviously saw Yang Ming sitting in the hot pot restaurant. Wang Xiaoyan didn't feel anything, but Zhao Ying looked gloomy. Today, Wang Xiaoyan came to find her. Zhao Ying originally wanted to refuse, but but she couldn't stand Wang Xiaoyan coming to find her personally after the phone call. Xiaoying hesitated. She felt that although Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan were together, she couldn't affect her friendship with Wang Xiaoyan because of this matter. Otherwise, it would seem that she was too stingy. It was Yang Ming's right to choose who he wanted. Yang Ming didn't choose her but chose Wang Xiaoyan. It also proved that she was lacking compared to Wang Xiaoyan, so Xiaoying didn't need to vent her anger on Wang Xiaoyan. Wang Xiaoyan and Xiaoying both liked to eat spicy flavors, but both of them had eaten in the Sichuan restaurant with Yang Ming before, so today they changed to a strange spicy hot pot that had just opened. "Isn't that Yang Ming?" Wang Xiaoyan blinked in the direction of Yang Ming and said to Xiaoying. She didn't know that Xiaoying already knew about her and Yang Ming, so she didn't avoid anything. Xiaoying nodded faintly, and there was no trace of joy in her expression. "Sister Xiaoying, what's wrong with you?" Wang Xiaoyan suddenly found that Xiaoying's mood was a bit wrong and asked quickly. "Nothing. Let's go. I don't want to eat at the restaurant at home." Xiaoying shook her head and said. "Ah." Wang Xiaoyan was somewhat inexplicable. She didn't know what happened to Xiaoying. "Sister-ing, why don't you eat here? Didn't we agree?" I suddenly lost my appetite." Xiaoying sighed. "Let's change to another restaurant." Xiaoying was afraid to see Yang Ming because she didn't know what to say. That night, the courage to persist until dawn had already disappeared, especially when she was with Wang Xiaoyan. If she met Yang Ming again, she would feel very awkward. She would feel like a third wheel, uncomfortable. You are because of Yang Ming." Wang Xiaoyan was also very smart. The association also understood the changes in Xiaoying before and after meeting Yang Ming. Of course not." Xiaoying wouldn't admit it. "Yang Ming has already seen us. Let's go and say hello before we leave. Otherwise, it would be impolite." Wang Xiaoyan looked at Xiaoying and said with a smile. "Ah." Xiaoying was embarrassed. She didn't expect Wang Xiaoyan to force her. She didn't eat here because she saw Yang Ming. Now, what was the difference between greeting Yang Ming and eating here? "Sister-ing, did something unpleasant happen between you and Yang Ming?" Seeing Xiaoying's expression, how could Wang Xiaoyan not notice something? No. Xiaoying naturally wouldn't admit it and quickly shook her head. "Is there really nothing?" Wang Xiaoyan looked at Xiaoying's somewhat flustered eyes and shook her head helplessly. "Sister-ing, you don't have to lie to me. Your eyes tell me that there must be something." Wang Xiaoyan was also an assassin. Her observation of people was naturally very strong. Although she was not as good as Yang Ming, it was more than enough to deal with ordinary people, so she immediately felt that something was wrong with Xiaoying. Xiaoying didn't know what to say. It wasn't that she didn't want to find someone to talk to, but this person couldn't be Wang Xiaoyan because Wang Xiaoyan was the character in the story she wanted to talk to. Yen, you don't have to ask, okay?" Xiaoying was a little embarrassed. She didn't want to say it. If she told the truth, then her friendship with Wang Xiaoyan would definitely be affected. At least she thought so. If she and Wang Xiaoyan were both Yang Ming's women, then it would be fine. The two people would become better sisters than they were now. But now, Wang Xiaoyan was, and she wasn't, so there would inevitably be some contradictions. "What's wrong?" Wang Xiaoyan didn't know Xiaoying's real thoughts, so she still kept asking, wanting to know why Xiaoying was unhappy. "You really want to know?" Xiaoying hesitated for a long time and asked. "Yeah, sister-ing, I'm very worried about you." Wang Xiaoyan nodded. Xiaoying was her only good friend in Songjiang. Of course, besides Yang Ming, but Yang Ming and she weren't friends now. If they had to be friends, then it was more like a boyfriend and a girlfriend. Zhao Ying was in Songjiang, and the only one who was close to her was Wang Xiaoyan, so she didn't speak for a long time. It was also for this reason that she was afraid that if some things were really said, there would be a crack in the friendship between the two people. It wasn't that Zhao Ying thought too much, but the fact was also the case. How many pairs of good sisters turned against each other because they liked the same man? There were too many examples like this, so Zhao Ying didn't want to take this risk. It was just that Wang Xiaoyan kept asking as if she wouldn't give up until she reached her goal, so there was no way. Zhao Ying had to say, "Then let's change to another place, okay? I don't want to do it here." "Okay." Wang Xiaoyan nodded and waved apologetically to Yang Ming. She went out of the restaurant with Zhao Ying. "Where are we going?" "Anywhere. I don't have an appetite. Why don't we go to your house?" Zhao Ying felt that there were some things that couldn't be said outside. It was better to go to a place where there was no one. Chapter 1044. Yang Ming didn't know what to do at first, but after seeing Zhao Ying and Wang Xiaoyan whisper a few words, the two left the restaurant. It was a bit strange, but Zhou Jiejie and Lin Jiyun were on the side, so it wasn't appropriate to ask. Because Yang Ming didn't think much about it before, he didn't use his special ability to watch the conversation between Wang Xiaoyan and Zhao Ying. Yang Ming didn't want to be a voyeur all the time. Seeing Yang Ming stretching his neck like a giraffe, Lin Jiyun was a bit baffled. "Yang Ming, what's wrong with you?" "Nothing. I want to call the waiter to order a drink," Yang Ming said with some embarrassment. "You want a drink? Then call the waiter." Zhou Jiejie was also a bit puzzled. What was Yang Ming looking at there? She looked back, but she didn't see anything strange. Zhou Jiejie and Lin Jiyun were sitting with their backs to the door, so they didn't see the situation when Wang Xiaoyan and Zhao Ying came in, but even if they saw it, they wouldn't recognize them. When they looked back, Zhao Ying and Wang Xiaoyan had already left, so they naturally didn't see anything strange. "Waiter." Yang Ming laughed twice. He reached out to the waiter and asked for a few bottles of drinks. The three of them ate again. However, Yang Ming's heart was a bit strange. What are Zhao Ying and Wang Xiaoyan doing? They obviously saw me, but they turned around and left. Is it because they saw Zhou Jiejie and Lin Jiyun, and they are afraid of causing any misunderstanding? It was also possible that Zhao Ying was shy, and Wang Xiaoyan's relationship with him couldn't be made public, so it was normal for them to leave, so Yang Ming didn't think too much about it. Charles had been wandering around here for 2 days, trying to meet Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan again. The words that Wang Xiaoyan said to him before she left that day made him feel more and more uneasy after he went back. Not many people in Europe knew his identity, let alone in the distant Huaxia of Asia. And Wang Xiaoyan, a person he met on the road, actually knew his identity. One could imagine how terrifying this was. Originally, Charles wanted to go to the police station to ask for the names of Wang Xiaoyan and Yang Ming, but the people in the police station didn't care about him at all. On the one hand, it was because of Bao Sanli's face. On the other hand, they had to keep it a secret for Yang Ming. When Yang Ming showed his ID, no one asked Yang Ming a word. Originally, Charles was driving a modified car without the right-of-way. Who would speak for him? Therefore, Charles did not even know the names of Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan and left in a daze. When he returned home and thought about what had happened that day, he felt very worried. Charles's current public identity was a racer, and he was a very successful racer. He was known as the god of racing in the industry. No one knew his family background and private identity. Even the pervasive paparazzi did not know this information. But the two people who happened to meet him knew. Charles didn't think that Wang Xiaoyan's sentence, "I want your European industry," was a joke. Unless Wang Xiaoyan was a psychopath, it was impossible to say such a brainless sentence. Therefore, after Charles failed to inquire at the police station, he began to wait at the place where he met Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan that day. He hoped to meet these two people again so that he could ask them. Heaven didn't disappoint those who tried hard. Although he didn't find Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan with his own eyes, he actually saw Yang Ming's car in the parking lot of the Strange Taste Spicy Hot Pot restaurant. It was this blue BMW X5 that crashed his sports car last time. Charles recognized it at a glance. Since the car was here, then the owner of the car must be nearby. So, Charles didn't think much and quickly walked into the hot pot restaurant. "Sir, how many people?" the waiter asked politely. "I'm looking for someone." Charles waved his hand and said. After entering the hall of the hot pot restaurant, he began to look around. When he saw Yang Ming, Charles was suddenly overjoyed. He finally found him. He didn't squat for several days in vain. Finally, he met Yang Ming in the vicinity again. Charles walked quickly to Yang Ming's table, and Yang Ming also noticed that someone was coming over. He thought it was a waiter, so he didn't pay attention. But when he looked up, he was suddenly stunned. Yang Ming's impression of Charles was quite deep. Originally, his impression of him was only based on the fact that he was a passerby, but after the words of Wang Xiaoyan, Yang Ming remembered this person in his heart. Whether he was an enemy or a friend, at least this person would be in the same line of work. "Hello, sir. What a coincidence. We meet again." Before Yang Ming spoke, Charles reached out his hand and spoke to Yang Ming in a friendly manner. As the saying goes, don't slap a smiling face. However, Yang Ming and Charles were not very familiar. Out of sympathy for him being hit by little girl Wang, Yang Ming still reached out and shook his hand, but he said, "Yeah, it's really a coincidence." Yang Ming's words were naturally sarcastic. There were no empty tables on Yang Ming's side, so Charles obviously came here for him. It was simply a lie to say that it was a coincidence. Charles smiled. Naturally, he heard the meaning of Yang Ming's words, but he didn't mind. Instead, he pointed to the seat next to Yang Ming and said, "Is there anyone here? If there is no one, can I sit here? In theory, I don't like to be disturbed by strangers when I eat." Yang Ming secretly despised Charles in his heart. This Charles's face is really thick. He asked very politely, but before Yang Ming could answer, he sat next to Yang Ming. Even if Yang Ming didn't agree, what could he do? This is the second time we are meeting. We can't be considered strangers, right? Charles smiled and said, "Let me introduce myself again. My name is Charles, I know." Yang Ming said faintly, "Racing God Charles. But I haven't heard of you." Charles broke into a sweat. He glanced at the two girls opposite him and saw that they were also indifferent. It seemed that they had never heard of his name. He couldn't help but sigh. Who are the people around this guy? Wherever I go, I am the target of screams from girls. I am the hero worshipped by men. Why is it not applicable here? I'm just playing around. Charles laughed twice. "Excuse me, the lady who hit my car that day, she is not here. If you have anything to say, just tell me." Yang Ming said somewhat impatiently. "I finally have a chance to eat and flirt with Zhou Jijia and Lin Jiyun. Why is this guy joining in the fun?" That. Charles couldn't figure out who the two girls opposite him were to Yang Ming. Did they know so much? So, he didn't dare to ask rashly. Otherwise, his identity was originally a secret. If he asked, more people would know. That what? Are you okay? Yang Ming frowned and looked at Charles. Why is this guy like a woman? He is even the heir of the assassin family. When can you finish eating? I want to talk to you alone. Charles hesitated and said. Yang Ming was really impatient. If you have something to say, just say it. If you don't have anything to say, then forget it. I am busy eating. Are you going to say it or not? If you don't want to say it, then leave quickly. I want to talk about the European industry. Charles lowered his voice and said. Yang Ming was stunned. He glanced at Charles and said, Give me the phone. I will contact you when I have time. Okay. Charles saw that Yang Ming was willing to talk to him, so he quickly handed a business card to Yang Ming. However, he was more convinced at the moment that Yang Ming knew his identity because when it came to the European industry, Yang Ming immediately agreed to talk to him. You can go now. Yang Ming accepted Charles's business card and began to drive him away. Although Charles was the heir of a certain assassin group in Europe, what did he have to do with Yang Ming? Yang Ming was still the heir of the king of assassins. There was no need to be polite with him. Charles knew that it was useless for him to stay here, so he nodded and stood up. When he was about to leave, his eyes suddenly stopped on Zhou Jijia. He suddenly felt that she was familiar, so he couldn't help but ask, Miss, I think you are very familiar. I seem to have seen you somewhere. Can you tell me your name? Zhou Jijia nodded. Yang Ming heard Charles's words and suddenly felt a chill. He glared at this guy and said, I say, little Cha, do you have anything to say? If you have nothing to say, then get out of here. Don't harass my wife. Your excuse for chasing a girl is too old-fashioned. Charles smiled awkwardly and said, I am not making an excuse. I really feel that you are familiar. Pardon me for asking, but is your surname Zhou? Zhou Jijia and Yang Ming were both stunned at the same time. Just now, Zhou Jijia didn't say a word. Yang Ming and Lin Jiyun didn't call her name. How did this person know her surname? How do you know? Zhou Jijia looked up at Charles inexplicably and frowned. Do you know me? Sure enough, it is you. Charles nodded and said with some surprise, Zhou Jijia, I have seen your photos from others before. You are more beautiful than in the photos. Really? Zhou Jijia didn't care about Charles's praise, but she wondered that he had seen her photo. My photo? Where did you see it? A friend. Charles smiled and said, I will invite you to dinner another day. I say, are you done yet? Yang Ming glared at Charles and looked at him coldly. Are you leaving or not? Leaving. Charles was shocked by the murderous intent that Yang Ming instantly revealed, but he was surprised in his heart. If Yang Ming knew my identity, would he still dare to talk to me like this? Then, does he know my identity or not? Or is it just nonsense from the woman that day? Chapter 1045. Charles stood up awkwardly and raised his hands to show his innocence. I just said it casually. I will leave. I will leave immediately. I won't send you off. Yang Ming said faintly. Charles was a little depressed. I am actually afraid of an ordinary young man. However, Yang Ming seemed to know his identity, which made him feel restless. After Charles left, Yang Ming complained helplessly, this guy is really inexplicable. Yeah, but I don't know how he knows me. It's really strange. Zhou Jijia frowned and asked, what is his name? Charles. Charles. He is a racer and is known as the god of racing. Yang Ming said, why? You are a computer genius. Are you planning to go back and do some human search on him? I have this plan. Zhou Jijia smiled and said, this guy is really annoying. He knows my identity. If I don't know his identity, then I will be at a disadvantage. Yang Ming didn't care. He didn't think that Zhou Jiejia could search for Charles's true identity. After all, for Charles, it was impossible to disclose information related to his true identity to anyone and the media. Therefore, what could be searched on the internet was probably only some information about him as a racer. After that, they were not disturbed. The three people ate happily. After the meal, Yang Ming paid the bill and went out of the hot pot restaurant with Zhou Jiejia and Lin Jiyun. Tomorrow was the day of school, so the three of them had to go back and pack up as soon as possible. It was easy for Zhou Jiejia. After she was injured, Yang Ming had bought all the things that she could use at school and put them in the villa. Lin Jiyun, on the other hand, had a lot of things at home, so Yang Ming had to send Lin Jiyun back first. After arriving at Shantytown, Yang Ming was surprised to find that in the original office of the demolition company in Shantytown, there were a few simple houses with the slogan "Temporary Office of the Demolition Company" hanging on them. Yang Ming was taken aback at that time. He thought, why is the demolition company still here? Then, he realized that something was wrong because Yang Ming clearly found that there were more residents here than when Madman Ma was here before. Everyone had a smile on their faces. After taking a closer look, he realized that the sign of the demolition company had been replaced by Ming Yang. Suddenly, he remembered that Dekang Real Estate had already belonged to his name. No wonder these residents would become enthusiastic. Yang Ming had mentioned this to Bao Sonli before. The demolition fee should be given enough. Don't be as harsh as Wei Dekang before. These residents got benefits, so they were naturally happy. Lin Jiyun hadn't been home for a few days, so she didn't know that so many major events had happened. Looking at the neighbors who were rushing here to do the demolition procedures, she thought that the demolition company had given the residents here an ultimatum. She couldn't help but sigh. In the past few years, violent demolitions had happened repeatedly, and the attitude of the demolition company could be seen. Lin Jiyun knew that the residents of the community were not the opponents of Dekang Real Estate, so she felt a little uncomfortable at this time. Yang Ming, I don't know how my family is doing. I didn't expect the demolition company to be so anxious. I left for a few days, and they have already started the demolition. Don't worry. Seeing Lin Jiyun's worried look, Yang Ming smiled and comforted her. Of course, Lin Jiyun didn't think much about it. She thought that Yang Ming was just comforting her. She slightly accelerated her pace and wanted to see the situation at home as soon as possible. However, when she returned home and saw the demolition results, Lin Jiyun was stunned. What? After our house is demolished, can we change to a duplex? Lin Jiyun felt that it was a bit incredible. Isn't this developer a psychopath? My broken house, after the reconstruction, can be exchanged for an ordinary economic housing, which is already very good. They actually gave my family a duplex of more than 200 square meters. My house is now less than 200 square meters. Isn't this a joke? If this continues, won't the developer lose money? Shen Yueping's face was full of smiles. Yunair, I really have to thank little Yang this time. The demolition company took special care of our family. When the demolition company heard that we were your parents, they said that Yang Ming had already talked to them and gave us a discount. Shen Yueping's face was full of smiles. Ah! Then other families. Lin Jiyun thought that it was indeed true. Although her family was better, other families would still be taken advantage of. Why does it seem that other families are very happy now? Other families have also received sufficient compensation according to the maximum standard limit, so everyone is very satisfied. Shen Yueping explained. This was also Yang Ming's intention. He was not a savior. It was impossible for him to take care of everyone. Doing business was doing business. If he took special care of them because of this kind of illusory interpersonal relationship, then there was no need to make money. What Yang Ming could do was to give them the maximum amount they deserved. But even so, everyone was already very satisfied because this compensation was enough for them to buy a small house in a not very prosperous area. Those who did not ask for compensation would be allocated a house with the same size as the current house after the house was built. Although it was a house in the future, many people also chose to ask for a house. After all, after the house was built, whether it was the appreciation space or the total value, it was more cost-effective than directly taking money. The demolition company was replaced by a friend's company. It was just a small effort to say hello. Yang Ming smiled and said, "In fact, it's nothing." But during the demolition and reconstruction period, what did Auntie Shin and Uncle Lin decide to do? "We plan to rent a house first. It is said that construction will start in the spring. The first phase of construction will be an economic residential building. The residents of the community will move back first," said Xin Yueping. "Ji-yun, didn't you make a lot of money in the company? Just buy a house. Don't rent it." Yang Ming glanced at Lin Ji-yun and said. This was what the two of them had discussed before, so Lin Ji-yun nodded with an "oh." "The house here will be built soon. Why do you want to buy another one?" Xin Yueping asked with some doubts. "It's a waste of money. Yun-er, you should save your money. Don't spend it recklessly." "Mom." Lin Ji-yun smiled and said, "How can this be a waste? Buying a house is actually an investment. After buying it, we will live here first. After the construction is done, we will move back. The newly bought house can be rented. No matter how you look at it, it's an industry. We won't lose money." Xin Yueping didn't expect her daughter to have such an economic mind. However, now that she thought about it, Lin Ji-yun was a manager in the company. Naturally, it was different from the past. Since she said it was an investment, and Yang Ming didn't object, then it must be. So, she no longer objected. "Then do as you said. I don't care." After Lin Chongqing returned to Songjiang, he was busy researching a small business. He hadn't come back yet. Because school would start tomorrow, Yang Ming didn't wait here. He said goodbye to Xin Yueping and left. Zhou Jiejie was still waiting in the car outside, so after Yang Ming came out of the Lin family, he walked quickly in the direction of the car. When he came to the car, Yang Ming was stunned. He saw several people wearing the uniform of the demolition company beating a few young men. Yang Ming suddenly frowned. "I have repeatedly emphasized to Bao Sonli not to use any violent means to demolish. Why did they start to beat people under my nose?" Although several security guards of the Ming Yang Company were sent here to maintain order in order to maintain the normal operation of the demolition company, they weren't sent here to beat people, right? What's the matter? Yang Ming walked to the front and asked several demolition personnel. One of the people who looked like a leader saw Yang Ming ask and quickly smiled. "Brother Yang." This person had seen Yang Ming before. These underlings from the Nightless Club had now become small leaders, but they all knew that the relationship between Yang Ming and Bao Sonli wasn't shallow. This could be seen from the fact that this BMW was used by Yang Ming. This was Brother Bao's car. "What's going on?" Yang Ming pointed to a few staff members who were beating people over there, as well as a few young men who were beaten black and blue on the ground. "Brother Yang, these people are the little gangsters nearby. You weren't here just now. Sister-in-law went to the grocery store to buy water, and she was entangled by them. They even touched her, so we..." The leader seemed to be afraid that Yang Ming would misunderstand, so he quickly explained. "Sister-in-law." Yang Ming was stunned, and then he thought of Zhou Jiejie. He opened the car door and saw Zhou Jiejie holding a bottle of drink in her hand. It shouldn't be wrong. It seemed that he had misunderstood. Yang Ming smiled and shook his head. Then he said, "Well done. You can continue." Zhou Jiejie was really cool. When he wasn't here, Zhou Jiejie was a little thirsty, so she got out of the car to buy water. These little gangsters were actually scumbags nearby. For the residents here, they generally didn't provoke them, but when they saw that Zhou Jiejie was a new face and looked so attractive, they became bold and flirted with her. Zhou Jiejie may have ignored them, but they thought that Zhou Jiejie was scared, so they chased after her. They wanted to touch her, but they happened to be seen by several staff members in the demolition company who were responsible for safety. They had already noticed Yang Ming's car. At this time, they saw Zhou Jiejie being entangled by a few little gangsters. How could they? They were the ancestors of the gangsters. How could they allow these little trash to be arrogant? In terms of ruthlessness, they were much more ruthless than Madman Ma's group. It was just that they didn't use their ruthlessness on the residents. However, these little gangsters were different. They dared to pester Brother Yang's woman. Didn't they want to die? So they rushed out, grabbed a few gangsters, and started beating them until they couldn't find their bearings. Chapter 1046. Only then did the nearby residents see how fierce the people of the demolition company were. It was even better than before, but they were dealing with the punks. Naturally, others were too lazy to meddle in other people's business. However, there were a few restless residents. Some greedy residents had calmed down a lot. At first, when they saw the attitude of the demolition company was amiable and easy to talk to, they wanted to extort more money from them. They were discussing to be nail households. Some people were satisfied with their share, but some people were very greedy. When they were greedy, they began to study how to get more benefits. However, now that they had seen the means of the people of the demolition company, they did not dare to act rashly. The previous Nail Households alliance also collapsed in an instant. Many people retreated. The people in the leading organization had to give up. It was not that they were weak, but they did not make a move. When they made a move, they were fiercer than Madman Ma. "Your friends?" After getting in the car, Zhou Jiejie asked strangely. "Well, our friends men." Yang Ming smiled and said, "Did they scare you just now?" "No, just a few punks. I went back to the car, but they didn't leave. They were circling around." Zhou Jiejie shook her head. "I didn't know what to do. They rushed out and beat up these little punks." "Ha, it's their bad luck." Yang Ming said, "Right, school will start tomorrow. Is there anything to buy? Let's go buy it together." "No need. We have everything at home. I've checked." Zhou Jiejie shook her head. Now, only she and Yang Ming were left. There were some things she wanted to ask Yang Ming, but she didn't know how to ask. "Well, then let's go straight home." Yang Ming nodded and started the car. Those little punks really had no eyesight. They could see Zhou Jiejie's identity just from the car she was in and the license plate. They still dared to provoke her. They were doomed to be little punks, and it was impossible for them to have much development. Several people were beaten until they couldn't get up. They didn't know why they were beaten, but they couldn't ask because they could no longer speak. Zhao Ying followed Wang Xiaoyan to Wang Xiaoyan's house. "Sister Ying, take a seat." Wang Xiaoyan saw Zhao Ying standing there in a daze. She was somewhat baffled. What was wrong with Sister Ying today? Why was it so strange? "Oh, okay." Zhao Ying was thinking about something, so she was a little absent-minded. When she heard Wang Xiaoyan's question, she recovered and sat on the sofa. Wang Xiaoyan went to the refrigerator and took out 2 bottles of drinks. She handed one to Zhao Ying, then sat beside Zhao Ying and asked, Sistering, what's wrong with you? What's the matter? Just say it. Yan, do you usually live alone? Aren't you lonely? Xiaoying hesitated. It was not good to ask about Yangming directly, so she planned to find some topics to talk about first. Yes, what's wrong? Wang Xiaoyan nodded. But sistering, you live close to me now. You can come and accompany me. Okay, then how about I live with you every day? Xiaoying said, but she kept paying attention to Wang Xiaoyan's expression. Wang Xiaoyan felt bitter in her heart, but she couldn't show the slightest unhappiness on her face. She said, okay, let's be like before. Seeing that Wang Xiaoyan's face didn't show any discomfort, Xiaoying felt a little strange. She thought, if she came here, then what about Yangming? Wang Xiaoyan and Yangming are not. Yan, do you have a boyfriend? Xiaoying saw that Wang Xiaoyan was not abnormal. She had no choice but to ask more directly. Boyfriend? Wang Xiaoyan's heart tightened. Today, Xiaoying is weird. She asked me if I live alone, and now she asks if I have a boyfriend. Does she suspect something? It shouldn't be. The matter between me and Yangming is not publicized. I won't say it, and Yangming won't say it. Then, how does Xiaoying know? However, this was just a guess. Wang Xiaoyan didn't show any panic on the surface. Instead, she complained, sistering, don't you know a little about my family situation? Why would I find a boyfriend? Xiaoying did know a little about Wang Xiaoyan's family situation. She knew that she seemed to have run away from home because she wanted to escape from marriage, but it was just a general idea. She didn't know the details. Moreover, it seemed that she had an agreement with her family. After college, she would go back home and get married, right? At first, Xiaoying sympathized with her for a while, but Wang Xiaoyan wasn't willing to mention it specifically. Xiaoying couldn't ask. Really? After Xiaoying heard it, she sighed faintly and said, Yan, both of us came to Songjiang from other places. We have no relatives and no friends here. I regard you as my best sister, so I don't want you to hide anything from me. Xiaoying sighed faintly and said, Sistering. I didn't hide anything from you. Wang Xiaoyan was more and more shocked. Sistering, if you have something to say, just say it, okay? Okay. Xiaoying saw that Wang Xiaoyan didn't admit it, so she could only make it clear. Yan, you and Yangming. Are you already together? Xiaoying thought for a long time, but she couldn't think of what words to use to describe it, so she could only ask vaguely. Ah. Wang Xiaoyan didn't expect that Xiaoying really asked about this matter. However, how could Wang Xiaoyan reveal a flaw so easily? So, she asked with some doubts, Sistering, why do you say that? Yan, you don't have to hide it from me. Xiaoying smiled bitterly and shook her head. Actually, I saw everything. What did you see, sistering? Wang Xiaoyan asked quickly. That day, you and Yangming came back hand in hand and went into your villa together. As a result, Yangming didn't come out for the whole night. Xiaoying sighed. Yan, I know that I have no reason to stop you and him, but I just hope that you can tell me about it. Sistering, you are talking about this. Wang Xiaoyan suddenly said with a look of realization. Wang Xiaoyan had already thought about it in her heart. It seems that Xiaoying really knows something, and she even caught the evidence. I blame myself and Yangming for being careless. I can't do such brainless things in the future. Wang Xiaoyan was a person who did things very carefully, but when she was with Yangming, she didn't know why. She would be so impulsive and forget herself. However, in just a moment, Wang Xiaoyan also found an excuse to absolve herself. It wasn't that Wang Xiaoyan deliberately deceived Zhao Ying, but there were some things that couldn't be explained to Zhao Ying. Zhao Ying wasn't a person in the assassin world. If she knew too much, it wouldn't be good for her. Wang Xiaoyan couldn't tell her about the assassin group. Yang Ming and I, although it seems that it has gone beyond a partnership in the general sense, but more like a couple, Wang Xiaoyan also knew that the future of her and Yang Ming was very uncertain. Once the Black Butterfly assassin group couldn't become the world's #1, then she had to keep her promise and go home to get married. At that time, everything would become meaningless. How? Zhao Ying saw that Wang Xiaoyan didn't have any embarrassment, but her expression was natural. She wondered, Yan, you and him. Sister Ying, you are talking about Yang Ming and me. Wang Xiaoyan said with a smile, I asked him to pretend to be my boyfriend. Pretend to be your boyfriend? Zhao Ying was stunned after listening. She looked at Wang Xiaoyan, puzzled. Why would he pretend to be your boyfriend? Yeah. Wang Xiaoyan nodded and said, Sister Ying, you know the situation of my family. I don't want to marry a stranger who has no feelings for me. A few days ago, my father called again and told me to go back and get married after graduation. I was a little annoyed at that time, so I told him that I already had a boyfriend. My father is by my side, so there should be some people secretly monitoring me. I wanted to anger him, so I deliberately found Yang Ming to put on a show and let them pass the wrong information to my father. I guess he should be very angry now, right? Is that so? Zhao Ying didn't expect the truth of the matter to be like this. Yang Ming came to pretend to be Wang Xiaoyan's boyfriend. Then he spent the night with you. Of course he slept in 2 rooms. Sister Ying, you are so stupid. Wang Xiaoyan giggled. If Yang Ming knew the identity that Wang Xiaoyan made up for him, who knew what he would think? Maybe he would say, motherfucker, I am a professional at pretending to be someone's boyfriend. I have to find a chance to open a boyfriend rental company and make a lot of money. Then why didn't you tell me before? Zhao Ying listened and let out a long sigh of relief. You didn't ask. Wang Xiaoyan shrugged innocently. Yang Ming and I live very close, and you know that I don't usually talk to guys, so I got him to be my man. I thought you guys. Zhao Ying said with some embarrassment. What did you think? You thought I stole your boyfriend? Wang Xiaoyan giggled and said, if you want to talk about stealing, it's not me. I live next to him, so I saw everything clearly. In just a few days, there are 3 little beauties living in the house. Sister Ying, you are in danger. He is like this, but I like him. Zhao Ying sighed. I'm sorry, Yan, I misunderstood you. It's okay. Wang Xiaoyan shook her head and said, we are good sisters, why are you apologizing? Wang Xiaoyan suddenly had an impulse in her heart. One day, it would be great if she could become a real sister with Zhao Ying, but her life experience would not allow her to do so. Chapter 1047. Zhao Ying lowered her head with some embarrassment and whispered, Yan, but you have to be careful. Yang Ming, this guy, always pretends to be someone else's boyfriend, and then it becomes real, really. Although Wang Xiaoyan said so, she was very guilty in her heart. Zhao Ying seems to be right. I and Yang Ming. However, she still smiled and said, Sister Ying. You wouldn't be talking about yourself, right? I remember that when you went home during the holidays, you asked Yang Ming to pretend to be your boyfriend and call you. Zhao Ying's face was red. Wang Xiaoyan was talking about her heart. She asked, how do you know? During the holidays, Yang Ming came to get something. You gave him the key, and it scared me. I only found out after I asked. Wang Xiaoyan said. I am different. Zhao Ying quickly explained, I like him first, and then I pretended to be his boyfriend and girlfriend. I am talking about another girl and Yang Ming, hoo, you know quite a lot. Wang Xiaoyan said with a smile. No. Zhao Ying blushed and waved her hand. Finally, she dealt with it. Wang Xiaoyan breathed a sigh of relief. However, she really had to be careful when she was with Yang Ming in the future. She couldn't let Zhao Ying find any clues. Then, it would be difficult to explain. Now, can we eat? Wang Xiaoyan asked with a smile. Yan, you are making fun of me. Zhao Ying suddenly said shyly. Wang Xiaoyan smiled and took Zhao Ying's hand. Do you still want to eat hot pot? What do you have at home? Just eat at home. Since they were already home, Zhao Ying didn't want to go out. In the past few days, Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan had been staying at home. The two of them didn't want to go out to eat, so Yang Ming sent Zhang Jishan to the supermarket to buy some frozen food. Zhang Jishan was now a part-time follower of Yang Ming. In fact, there was really nothing for him to do at present. Instead of being an idle person, he was willing to run errands for Yang Ming. At least there was something to do. There are some frozen food. Let's go to the kitchen freezer and see. Wang Xiaoyan took Zhao Ying and walked to the kitchen. Zhang Jishan was a straightforward person. Yang Ming casually gave him $500, and in the end, he bought something that cost $500. 500 yuan of frozen food was enough to fill the entire freezer. Even if Yang Ming could eat, the two of them couldn't eat too much, so there was still a lot left. Yan, why do you have so many frozen food here? Opening the freezer, Zhao Ying was a little surprised. She didn't expect Wang Xiaoyan to store so many things. Wang Xiaoyan had to smile bitterly. Before Yang Ming came, the freezer wasn't plugged in. There was nothing in it. When Yang Ming came, he got so many things. If she ate alone, how long would it take? The two of them found some fast food fried dumplings and some microwavable snacks. Soon, they made a delicious meal. It was okay to eat this kind of thing once in a while, but if you eat it too much, you will feel bored. Zhao Ying ate these frozen food for the first time. She thought it was good, but Wang Xiaoyan had been eating it for several days. She wanted to ask Zhao Ying to improve the meal today, but she didn't expect to eat these things in the end. The two of them seemed to have returned to the days when they rented a house and lived together. Every day, after Wang Xiaoyan finished school and Zhao Ying got off work, the two of them sat around the table and ate some simple meals. Thinking back, it was particularly warm. Although Wang Xiaoyan didn't think it was very delicious, she still ate a lot with Zhao Ying. The two of them ate a lot. They sat on the sofa and talked about the past. Yan, I still remember that when Yang Ming came to our house for the first time, this guy rushed into the bathroom. You were still taking a shower. I was shocked at that time. Zhao Ying recalled the past and suddenly felt a little funny. You still dare to say that? I thought it was you. As a result, when I opened the bathroom door, a strange man was peeing there. I was scared to death. Wang Xiaoyan thought of the past and felt that it was a little funny. At that time, she didn't know Yang Ming, but she had the heart to kill Yang Ming. But now that she thought about it, she felt that it was nothing. You were in a daze. You took a shower at home, but you didn't know to lock the bathroom door. This gave Yang Ming an opportunity. Zhao Ying laughed and scolded. How would I know that a man could suddenly come to the house? Wang Xiaoyan said very wrongly, Sister Ying, you brought a man to the house, and you still scold me. Okay, that time it was my fault. Zhao Ying said, but the second time, you opened the door with a small singlet. You can't blame me, right? You were the one who was careless and let Yang Ming see everything. Wang Xiaoyan listened and thought, yes, he saw everything. He saw everything for a while, but she couldn't say, I was about to fall asleep at that time. When you came back, I opened the door. How would I know that Yang Ming also followed? Right, when you mentioned taking a shower, I just remembered. I just moved here, and the natural gas hasn't been turned on yet. I can't take a hot shower. I haven't taken a shower for a few days. I'll take a shower here. Xiao Ying said. Okay, there is a shower room and a bathtub in the bathroom upstairs. You can go up and take a shower yourself. Wang Xiaoyan pointed in the direction of the upstairs and said, there are new towels and pajamas in the cabinet. Sister Ying, you can take them yourself. Okay. Xiao Ying nodded and didn't be polite with Wang Xiaoyan. When the two people shared a house, they shared a bathroom and shower room, so no one would dislike the other. Xiao Ying went upstairs, and Wang Xiaoyan turned on the TV. Then she took out her mobile phone and sent a message to Yang Ming, Sister Ying seems to have found something. She saw that when we left together that day, you entered my house. But I lied to her that I was looking for you to pretend to be my boyfriend to anger my family. You can't expose it. On the way back, Yang Ming's mobile phone rang with a text message. When he was waiting for the signal, he picked it up and looked at it. He was suddenly shocked. No wonder I just felt that Xiao Ying was strange. It turned out to be like this. But fortunately, little girl Wang was smarter. She deceived Xiao Ying. It's just that I'm a professional and pretending to be a boyfriend too often. One after another, it was continuous. Afraid that the message would be seen by others, Yang Ming directly pressed the delete button after reading it. As he was about to turn off the mobile phone, he found that there was a draft text message in the short message box. It was the one that he had failed to send before. He opened it and looked at it. It was actually a message sent to Xiao Ying on Valentine's Day. Yang Ming suddenly felt very bad. Motherfucker, this wonderful message actually didn't get sent. However, there were too many people sending messages on Valentine's Day. Some base stations would be overloaded. It was not uncommon for the message to fail to send. However, even if Yang Ming found it now, he couldn't send it again. Valentine's Day had passed half a month ago. He had to delete it together. It just so happened that the signal light also turned green. Yang Ming put the gear in the D gear. Just as he was about to step on the accelerator, the mobile phone rang again. Yang Ming glanced at the number above. It was actually a +001965 number. Yang Ming was somewhat inexplicable. This was obviously not a normal number. Yang Ming had received similar calls before, but when he picked them up, they were all scammers who notified him that he had won a prize. So, Yang Ming didn't care. He directly pressed the hang-up button and continued to drive. But it didn't take long for this call to come again. Yang Ming couldn't help but admire the patience of this scammer. Generally, when a scammer's call was not answered, he would change the target. This person didn't give up. Yang Ming couldn't be helped. He had to pull the car to the side and slowly move forward. Then, he picked up the phone. Hello, who are you looking for? Because Yang Ming had already guessed that the other party might be a scammer, his tone was not very polite. Yang Ming. The other party asked tentatively. It's me. You are. Yang Ming heard that the other party actually knew his name. It was a bit strange, but his tone became much more friendly. Yang Ming, I am Huang Rongjin. On the other side of the phone, the familiar voice said. Second brother. Yang Ming was stunned. He couldn't find Huang Lele a few days ago. It was reasonable to say that he had returned to Songjiang for so many days. Huang Lele should have flown the Donghai route, right? But Huang Lele did not contact him. When Yang Ming contacted Huang Lele's mobile phone, Huang Lele's mobile phone was still turned off. Although Yang Ming was a little anxious, there was nothing he could do. When Huang Rongjin called, Yang Ming suddenly remembered that Huang Lele still had such an elder brother. If he wanted to know her whereabouts, he could ask Huang Rongjin. Yang Ming, where are you? Huang Rongjin asked anxiously. I am in Songjiang. What's wrong, brother Huang? What's the matter? Yang Ming wondered why Huang Rongjin suddenly called him, and he seemed to be very anxious. Lele was locked up by her elder brother and father. Huang Rongjin said anxiously on the other side of the phone. What? Yang Ming was shocked and asked in horror, second brother, what did you say? Huang Lele was locked up. Or by her elder brother and father. Yeah. Huang Rongjin said, I just learned the news, so I quickly called you to think of countermeasures. What the hell is going on? Why did they lock Lele up? Yang Ming's mood was very upset now. He didn't have the mood to drive. He parked the car and asked carefully. A while ago, after you left from Macau, I also went to Hong Kong to participate in a collector's exhibition. When I returned to Macau, I found that Lele was not in Macau. Huang Rongjin said, I was worried about where Lele went, then I received a call from my elder brother. He said that something happened at home and asked me to go back immediately. When I went back, I found out that Lele had already returned, and she was put under house arrest by her father and elder brother. Chapter 1048. Second brother, be specific. Why did they put Lele under house arrest? Yang Ming frowned. Although this was Huang Lele's family matter, and the people who put Huang Lele under house arrest were also her relatives, Huang Lele was Yang Ming's woman. She was treated like this for no reason. Yang Ming was naturally very angry. If Lele was really treated unfairly, Yang Ming would still teach them a lesson regardless of who they were. Things are like this. After I returned home, I learned that there was a break in the capital chain of the family's company. I don't know much about business matters. In short, the family business is now very difficult. If we can't get through this difficulty, we may go bankrupt. Huang Rongjin explained, specifically, it might be a project in Africa. Because of the problems with the local interim government, it was overthrown. Now that the new regime is established, the previous contract signed with the previous interim government is not recognized by them anymore. Our family's first batch of investment has been invested. Now we are in a dilemma. If we continue, we have to re-sign a contract with the new regime and pay some relevant fees again. If we don't do it, the previous investment will be in vain. However, this project has cost too much money before. The family really doesn't have extra money to pay the contract fees of the new government again. What does this have to do with Lele? Yang Ming was inexplicable. The eldest son of the Huang family really dared to play. Africa was a place where ordinary businessmen could play. Without any background, they dared to go there to make money. They were simply overestimating themselves. Those who were able to gain a foothold in that small country were generally groups of armed forces. No matter how the interim government was changed, they could not afford to offend these people. And if they wanted to be in power smoothly, they would need the support of these groups of forces. However, pure businessmen like the Huang family were the targets of these provisional governments to amass money. Father wanted to let Lele marry someone to get financial support. Huang Rongjin said, but Lele was not willing. My eldest brother suggested to father to put Lele under house arrest first, and then work slowly, fuck his mother. Yang Ming cursed after hearing that. He couldn't be blamed for being rude. Anyone who encountered such a thing would be very rude. However, after Yang Ming finished cursing, he immediately felt that something was wrong, so he explained, "I'm sorry, second brother Huang. I'm scolding your elder brother, not you." However, after Yang Ming finished explaining, he found that it was better if he didn't explain. His explanation seemed to be even more inappropriate. What was the difference between scolding boss Huang's mother and scolding second brother Huang? "It's okay, you can scold me." Huang Rongjin didn't feel that there was anything wrong with it. He said something very shocking, "Big brother and I are not born from the same mother. Lei and I are born from the same mother." Bang! Yang Ming was stunned. He thought, "It seems that I scolded right. Fortunately, I didn't say fuck his mother or something like that. Then I would have really scolded Huang Rongjin together. Yang Ming, I know that Lei likes you, so I called you. You have to find a way to save Lei. Otherwise, if Lei really becomes a victim of a marriage of interest, then she will not be happy for the rest of her life," said Huang Rongjin. "You, a member of the Huang family, have no way. I am thousands of miles away. What can I do?" Yang Ming couldn't help but smile bitterly after listening. He didn't expect that he would encounter this legendary TV drama plot. Judging from the current scale of the Huang family's business, the Huang family had at least a few billion capital, or even tens of billions. Since the Huang family had an economic crisis, the deficit of funds was definitely not a small amount. Yang Ming was really unwilling to get involved in such a thing. Although it was not difficult for Yang Ming to take out the money to fill the deficit for the Huang family, Yang Ming did not have a good impression of the Huang family except for Huang Lei and Huang Rongjin, especially the Huang family's eldest son. He was even more disgusted. "Let me give money to these people?" Yang Ming was really unwilling. But if there was no other way, Yang Ming would still do it for Huang Lei. "Yang Ming, I have a good impression of you. I know that you are a powerful person. I am relieved to entrust Lei to you." Huang Rongjin smiled bitterly and said, "As a member of the Huang family, I can't do things that harm the interests of the Huang family. If I really do this, then how can I face my father and elder brother in the future? But similarly, as Lei's second brother, I don't want to see her unhappy. I don't want to see her unhappy. I hope that she will never participate in the family's disputes and live happily. So, I am really in a dilemma. In my position, I don't know what to do. I am calling you because I hope you can help me solve this problem. In short, I don't want to make Lei unhappy." Although Huang Rongjin said that he was a member of the Huang family and didn't want to do anything that would harm the interests of the Huang family, in fact, he was simply deceiving himself. He tipped off Yang Ming, which had actually harmed the interests of the family, because Yang Ming would never sit back and do nothing. However, Yang Ming also understood Huang Rongjin's difficulties. He could call Yang Ming, which proved that he was still on Huang Lei's side, but there were some things that he couldn't do personally. Moreover, even if he wanted to do it, the Huang family's eldest brother would not ask him to intervene. "Is there any progress on the marriage?" Yang Ming sighed and asked helplessly. "Not yet, but it's almost there." Huang Rongjin said, "My father also contacted the big family. Originally, the other party was not very interested in the marriage, but after his son saw Lei's photos, he was interested and asked his father to agree. But you also know that the marriage is actually just a means. After the marriage, they will support our family's investment in Africa. After all, this is not a trivial matter. It needs to be carefully examined and discussed before making a decision, so you still have time." Yang Ming breathed a sigh of relief. As long as there was time, it would be fine. "I will start school tomorrow. I can't leave right after school starts. That would be too unreasonable. As long as there was some time, I will find a way." "I got it. I will rush over as soon as possible, but if there is any news on your side, you must inform me immediately. Yang Ming told Huang Rongjin. Do not worry. I will not joke about my sister's happiness. Huang Rongjin quickly promised. And, second brother, you tell Lei not to worry. It's not a big deal. I will help her solve the problem. Yang Ming said. I believe in you. Huang Rongjin said very solemnly after listening. Hanging up the phone, Yang Ming sighed. It's really one problem after another. The things at hand these days are a mess. Zhao Ying's matter has not been dealt with yet, and Huang Lei has an accident here. No wonder I couldn't contact Huang Lei before. However, this matter is easy to handle. Isn't it just a temporary government in a small African country? Yang Ming was not afraid of anyone. At most, he would go there personally and directly threaten the temporary person in charge of the temporary government. If the contract was not resolved, he would kill him directly. He was most afraid of people like Yang Ming. If he offended an assassin organization, he probably would not have a good life in the future. Even if Yang Ming really had no time to go there, it was easy to handle. He would pay the Huang family the same amount of money they lost in Africa. So Yang Ming was not particularly worried. Zhou Jiejia also heard Yang Ming's phone call in the car, but she couldn't hear what Huang Rongjin said, so she only heard Yang Ming's words. She didn't understand what was going on. Moreover, she had some things on her mind, so she didn't pay much attention to Yang Ming's phone call. Zhao Ying went upstairs and found the bathroom upstairs. After entering, the first thing she did was to lock the door. She had just talked to Wang Xiaoyan about not locking the door when taking a shower, so Zhao Ying's conditioned reflex was to lock the door. After putting the bath water on, Zhao Ying began to take off her clothes. After putting her clothes one by one, the bath water was almost done. Zhao Ying opened the cabinet that Wang Xiaoyan said and took out a towel and a new set of pajamas. As she was about to close the cabinet door, Zhao Ying's hand suddenly stopped, and her eyes stopped on a small box in the cabinet. Durex condoms. Zhao Ying was stunned. How did Wang Xiaoyan have this kind of thing? Zhao Ying was not a little girl. Naturally, she recognized this thing and knew what it was for. Although Zhao Ying knew that she should not be so nosy to touch Wang Xiaoyan's things, she had no choice. Her hand still unconsciously touched it and took the box of condoms in her hand. How did it open? Zhao Ying carefully opened the box, but she found that there were only 3 condoms left. The other 9 had long disappeared. This is, used by Wang Xiaoyan. Then, who did she use it with? Zhao Ying's breathing suddenly became rapid, and her arms couldn't help but tremble. She knew Wang Xiaoyan's character. When she lived with Wang Xiaoyan before, she was still a virgin, and Wang Xiaoyan was definitely not a casual girl. Now, she found this thing in her cabinet, then, could it be that it was with Yang Ming? Zhao Ying's heart suddenly trembled, because she could only think of this possibility. Since Wang Xiaoyan found Yang Ming to be her fake boyfriend, it meant that she didn't have a boyfriend yet. Since she didn't have a boyfriend, it was impossible to use this thing with others. She didn't buy it to blow up balloons, right? Therefore, the only one left was Yang Ming. Zhao Ying couldn't be blamed for thinking too much. She suspected that Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan had something going on. Although Wang Xiaoyan had explained it, now, how could she explain this box of used condoms? Chapter 1049. Although Zhao Ying did not want to doubt what Wang Xiaoyan said, and she did not want to complicate things, the facts were in front of her. She could not help but think so. Looking at the production date marked on the box, it was recently produced. Zhao Ying sighed secretly and carefully put the box back in its original state. She was a little sad and lost. She did not understand why Wang Xiaoyan wanted to deceive her. Even if she told the truth, what could she do? Yang Ming was very fickle. It wasn't that she didn't know. Even if she had something with Yang Ming, she wouldn't say anything. Moreover, she had no right to say anything. But now, Zhao Ying felt like a fool who was deceived by her best friend. Zhao Ying wanted all this to be a misunderstanding, a beautiful misunderstanding, but this possibility seemed to be small. Lying quietly in the bathtub, Zhao Ying's mind was blank. She did not know how to face Wang Xiaoyan and Yang Ming in the future. Should they be like before, or should they be strangers? Zhao Ying was really in a dilemma. Wang Lele was deceived into going home. Her elder brother called and just said that her father was looking for her for something, but he did not mention a word about the marriage. It was not until Wang Lele returned home that she knew that the family's investment in Africa had a problem. In the second half of last year, the Huang family invested in a giant gold mine in a small country in Africa, Country X, and spent $5 billion to buy the mine's 100-year mining rights. Of course, most of the money came from bank loans. In addition to the purchase funds, the mining equipment had been hired in the early stage and nearly $1 billion were spent. The total investment of the Huang family in this steel iron mine was more than $6 billion. However, according to the calculation of the original ore content of this mine, it would take less than 100 years, about 20 years to recover the cost. After that, it would all be pure profit. With such a huge profit, how could the Huang family's eldest brother, Huang Rongtian, not be moved? After discussing with the family's old man, Huang Xiaofei, he put all his assets in. However, both Huang Rongtian and Huang Xiaofei made a fatal mistake, which was to ignore the political situation of Country X in Africa. In this kind of country where the government changed faster than the season, ordinary people could not participate in it. In just over half a year, the interim government that had signed the contract collapsed, and the former president took the money and fled. It was thought that the new government would not change the contracts signed by these businessmen in order to gain public support. In fact, most of the contracts did not change. Only the Huang family's contract was not recognized. The other merchants more or less had some private armed forces in the local area. No matter which government came to power, they would not easily provoke them. However, the Huang family was different. They were just businessmen and had no one to rely on in Country X. As soon as the new interim government was established, it tore up the previous contract between the government and the Huang family. They wanted to squeeze a large amount of military funds from the Huang family. Of course, if the Huang family could not take out the money, it was fine. The younger brother of the newly appointed acting president, General Kars, was an iron mine owner. This mine was directly handed over to him to manage, and there was no need to buy equipment. Due to the collapse of the interim government of this small country, the regime changed, so the contract signed by the Huang family previously became a piece of scrap paper. If they wanted to continue the development, they had to re-sign an agreement with the new regime leader. It was just that the other party made a very outrageous condition, and they also asked for $5 billion of gold mining rights. Although the contract this time seemed to be very generous, signing a 200-year agreement, Wang Rongtian also understood that the 200-year agreement was fake. Even if they signed an agreement for 1,000 years or 10,000 years, after the collapse of this interim government, the newly established regime would still not recognize it. For this kind of behavior of burning the bridge after crossing the river, the Huang family would never allow it. The Huang family was also a famous family in Singapore. They had a high social status. How could they stand such bullying? Huang Rongtian immediately looked for General Kars to reason, but when the black muzzle was placed on Huang Rongtian's head, Huang Rongtian suddenly woke up. In this small African country that had no diplomacy and had not joined the United Nations, there was no law to speak of. It could be said that the supreme leader here was the law. those who disobeyed him were all killed by him. Huang Rongtian went back carefully in the sneer of General Kars. He did not dare to mention anything else. However, not daring to speak more did not mean that the Huang family would not do anything. Because Huang Rongtian was not reconciled, he was not willing to let his money go down the drain. However, it was simply impossible for him to take out $5 billion again. Most of the previous $5 billion were still mortgaged by the current industry and borrowed from the bank. Now that there was a problem with the mine in Africa, it was already good that the bank was not in a hurry to ask for a loan, let alone lend a sum of money from the bank. Just when Huang Rongtian was a little desperate, he suddenly got a very important news. The Li family also wanted to invest in the mineral mining industry in Africa. The Li family was also a big family, and its financial resources were comparable to the Huang family. It was just that the businesses operated by the two families were different, and there were few opportunities for cooperation. Now that he heard that the Li family was also preparing to invest in the mining industry, Huang Rongtian immediately became interested and found the current helmsman of the Li family, Li Tianjia. Moreover, according to reliable news, the Li family originally had business dealings with General Kars, which was the most important point. Li Tianjia was about the same age as Huang Rongtian. He was the eldest son of the Li family's old man, Li Zhiqing. Regarding Huang Rongtian's intention, Li Tianjia was very indifferent. He did not agree or disagree, but he just said that he would consider it. Huang Rongtian saw Li Tianjia's lukewarm attitude and knew that this matter was more uncertain. After all, there was no big benefit. Why would he want to get involved with you? In order to tie Li Tianjia to the same chariot, Huang Rongtian proposed the marriage. At first, Li Tianjia was not very interested, but when he saw the photo in Huang Rongtian's mobile phone, his eyes immediately straightened. Huang Rongtian called him a few times, and Li Tianjia was a little embarrassed and recovered. However, Huang Rongtian did not care at all. Instead, he was a little happy. It seemed that Li Tianjia was interested in Lele, so this matter was possible. Sure enough, Li Tianjia pretended to evade a few words and said, "Rongtian, I don't object to the marriage. Both of our families are famous families, and we are well matched in terms of social status. However, we still have to discuss this marriage with our parents, don't we? I am in favor of it in principle, but I still have to discuss it with my father." "That is not a problem," Huang Rongtian said happily after listening. After Huang Rongtian left, Li Tianjia told his father, Li Zhiqing, about Huang Rongjian's intention. Of course, even the marriage that Huang Rongtian mentioned was not concealed. Li Zhiqing listened to Li Tianjia's narration and did not immediately express his opinion. He was different from Huang Rongjian's father. Huang Rongtian's father, Huang Xiaofei, had handed over most of the power to Huang Rongtian, but Li Zhiqing did not. He still held the decision-making power of all major events. "Father, I think this matter is very beneficial to us." Li Tianjia saw that his father did not express his opinion, so he couldn't help but say, "Are you interested in the girl of the Huang family?" Nobody knew his son better than his father. Li Zhiqing saw through his son's mind at a glance. Li Tianjia's face was red. Indeed, as his father said, he really liked Huang Lele. The marriage is a big deal, and the investment in Africa is even more important. Li Zhiqing said slowly, "Although we have cooperated with General Kars, our personal relationship is not very close. Moreover, General Kars is now in power. It is not the same as before. My face may not be useful. It is not easy to find a source of income. It is impossible to give up just because of my words, right?" Li Tianjia nodded silently. Yes, what his father said is indeed true. After all, this is not a trivial matter. If we participate in this matter, there will definitely be benefits, but the key is whether it is cost-effective or not. Li Ziqing sighed and said, if it is just cooperation, I may agree, but this marriage. You should be clear that once the marriage is established, then our Li family and the Huang family will be sitting on the same chariot. We will advance and retreat together. At that time, even if we want to get away, we can't. I understand. Li Tianjia said, Father, I won't let my imagination run wild anymore. I didn't say that this matter is completely impossible. Li Ziqing saw his son's appearance and said with some amusement, let's do this. Let me think about it and see if this matter is cost-effective or not. Then, I will find a time to talk to General Kars and see if he can give me face. When General Kars was fighting for the world, he received financial support from Li Ziqing. Although his current identity was not the same as before, General Kars was a nostalgic person. When he heard that the phone call was from Li Ziqing, he was very enthusiastic to chat with him. However, when Li Ziqing asked about the gold mine invested by the Huang family, it was a bit difficult. It was reasonable to say that he should give face to Li Ziqing, but if he gave face, then the money would be gone, so he hesitated and said, Mr. Li, you also know that I just came to power. I need money everywhere, I understand what you mean, but I will also participate in the partnership of this gold mine, so I hope that the rent can be reduced. Said Li Ziqing. I will think about it, and then we will contact you again. General Kars still couldn't completely not give face to Li Ziqing, so he promised to consider it. Chapter 1050. Of course, the Huang family could also understand the meaning of the Li family at the moment. In this case, no one was willing to get involved. The gold mine in Africa was a treasure and a bottomless pit. Huang Rongtian had some regrets. He listened to the boast of his friend, saying that the adventurers made an astronomical figure in Africa overnight that was unimaginable in a lifetime. However, this was indeed not a lie. Many people did become super rich overnight, but many people became poor overnight. Everything was relative. If there was profit, there would be loss. It was no wonder that Huang Rongtian and his father, Huang Xiaofei, would be so hot-headed. In the face of huge profits, few people would be absolutely calm. Marx had long said that once there was a suitable profit, the capitalist would be bold. With 50% profit, it would take risks. For 100% profit, it would dare to trample all the laws of the world. With 300% profit, it would dare to commit any crime, even at the risk of being hanged. This was not wrong at all, not to mention that there was more than 300% profit in the gold mine in Africa. Therefore, Huang Rongtian would participate at all costs. However, in such a small country, not everyone could play well. Obviously, Huang Rongtian did not understand the rules of the game, so it was unwise to jump in. He had also investigated beforehand. Although the regime of Country X changed quickly, the interim government collapsed, and the new one came in. But for the domestic capitalists, as long as they paid taxes according to the regulations, they would not do anything to them. He had never heard of anyone breaking the contract. And Huang Rongtian was the first one. Why was he the first one? He ignored an important point. That was, the Huang family did not have a strong private armed force in Country X. The newly appointed Kars regime was not afraid of what tricks the Huang family would play. As for the local mine owners, General Kars did not dare to offend them. He had just taken over power, and he had not yet rested well. What's more, these people were united, and they were not a small armed force. If they really fought to the death, then Karsi would not be able to gain any advantage. Maybe other hostile forces would take advantage of the situation and drive him out of power. Therefore, General Kars would not do such a stupid thing. But the Huang family was different, so he would start with the Huang family. When Huang Rongtian realized this, he realized that it was too late. Africa was an adventurous country, and it was not a place where businessmen like them could play. As a business family, the Huang family still had many loyal business partners. It was not impossible for them to raise $5 billion. The key problem was, if they really raised the $5 billion, what if the Karsi regime collapsed and the new regime took over? Would they do the same thing again? This was not a question of whether or not it was possible, but it was very possible. From this matter, Huang Rongtian was also clear about his own weight. If he wanted to gain a foothold in Country X, it was impossible without his own powerful private armed forces. However, he was just a businessman. It was possible for him to gather some underworld members, but it was simply nonsense for him to gather an armed force. Was he going to give up the $6 billion that he had just thrown in? Not to mention that Huang Rongtian was unwilling, even Huang Xiaofei would not agree. However, Huang Rongtian did not dare to continue investing. This was a major matter that concerned the future of the Huang family. If this matter was not handled properly, then the Huang family would go bankrupt. Huang Rongtian and Huang Xiaofei discussed for a long time and finally came up with a countermeasure. That was to drag others into the water, find a partner, and let him invest more. Although their own shares would be diluted, and the money they earned would be less than before, in the case that they did not have to invest a penny, they could once again get the property rights of part of the gold mine. It was the best result. With this decision, the Huang family's father and son set their sights on Li Ziqing. The reason why they chose Li Ziqing was that he also had a mine in Africa. It was an iron mine. Although it was not big, there was also a small-scale security force in the local area. The most important point was that Li Ziqing and General Kars had cooperated. The location of his iron mine was where General Kars' original base was located. He had provided military funds to General Kars. In this way, with his participation, things should become smoother. Li Ziqing had two sons. The eldest son, Li Tianjia, was about the same age as Huang Rongtian. He was 26 years old and unmarried. The youngest son, Li Tianyu, was only in middle school this year, so he did not consider it. In order to let Li Ziqing really participate in it, Huang Rongtian and Huang Xiaofei discussed and proposed the means of marriage. Although Huang Leilei was a few years younger than Li Tianjia, it did not matter. Huang Leilei was spoiled since she was a child. She liked to follow her own temperament in everything, but this time was different. It was related to the future life and death of the Huang family, so Huang Xiaofei had to sacrifice his daughter's interests in exchange for the greater interests of the family. Although it sounded ridiculous, the facts were the facts. If you wanted to get something, you had to lose something. When Huang Leilei returned home, she knew what happened. When she heard that her father wanted to marry her to the Li family, she immediately quarreled with her father. Then, she was put under house arrest by her father and was not allowed to go out. Although Huang Leilei had the 40 billion patakas given to her by Yang Ming, which was equivalent to $6 billion, Huang Leilei also knew that the family's matters could not be solved with money. What her father needed was the Li family's relationship, not just money. If there was no strong relationship in Country X, no matter how much money was invested, it might be bankrupt in an instant. Therefore, Huang Leilei hesitated again and again and did not take out the money. Although Huang Leilei was relatively simple, she was not stupid. She knew that even if she took out the money, it would not change her father's mind. It was better to keep it in her hand as her final trump card. After Huang Rongjin returned home and learned that his sister was under house arrest, he was furious. He found his father and quarreled, but when his father explained the situation in Africa, Huang Rongjin was silent. He knew that this matter was important. His words would not change his father's mind, so he hesitated and called Yang Ming. In Huang Rongjin's eyes, Yang Ming was a mysterious and resourceful person. Although it was not clear whether Yang Ming could reverse the situation in Africa, Huang Rongjin still called Yang Ming. After all, Yang Ming was his sister's boyfriend. If something happened to Lele, it was natural to inform Yang Ming. Moreover, Huang Rongjin had an intuition that Yang Ming would definitely have a way. For the boyfriend in Huang Lele's mouth, Huang Xiaofei did not care. In his opinion, if he did not ask Huang Lele to return to Macau, she would naturally cut off contact with her so-called boyfriend, let alone the mainlanders. After Huang Rongjin called Yang Ming, he was not idle. Instead, he began to collect information on General Kars in Country X. He hoped that these things could help Yang Ming. The Huang family had been dealing with General Kars during this time, so they also collected detailed information on him. Huang Rongjin secretly copied these materials. Africa. Gold mine. Yang Ming shook his head. This Huang Lele's elder brother really dared to be whimsical. Is that a place for him to go? Thinking that he still had a diamond mine in Africa that had not been mined, Yang Ming smiled bitterly. I don't have time to manage the diamond mine. This Huang family is still so enthusiastic. If it really doesn't work, I'll just let them mine diamonds instead. It will be a joint venture. For the diamond mine, Yang Ming was not afraid that anyone would dare to renege on his debt. In the small country where the diamond mine was located, no matter how the temporary regime changed, some high-level people knew the identity of the owner of the diamond mine. Who dared to renege? Wasn't that looking for death? Yang Ming did not know which country his diamond mine belonged to. Yang Ming planned to ask Fang Tian another day. Jia, how do you feel these days? Are there any sequelae? Yang Ming decided to put Huang Lele's matter aside first. After all, it was not urgent. Even if he was anxious, it was useless. Zhou Jiajia's injury was in her head, so Yang Ming was so cautious. He was afraid that Zhou Jiajia would have intermittent headaches. It's okay. The injured place doesn't hurt at all. Zhou Jiajia shook her head. Then, do you remember what happened before? This was what Yang Ming was concerned about. Zhou Jiajia couldn't always lose her memory like this, right? His relationship with her was a little awkward. At first, he agreed with Chen Mingyan's opinion and brought Zhou Jiajia home, but later, Yang Ming found that Zhou Jiajia was very shy. It was almost impossible to push her down without any development. Although Yang Ming believed that if he insisted on doing so, Zhou Jiajia would not object, this was not the result that Yang Ming wanted. For Zhou Jiajia, this girl, even if Yang Ming didn't love her deeply, he had certain feelings for her. It was just that the two people were limited to the extent of liking each other, but they lacked the process of love. It was too reckless to push her down directly. It was also disrespectful to Zhou Jiajia. Therefore, Yang Ming wanted Zhou Jiajia to recover her memory as soon as possible so that he could give her a perfect relationship. The two people were classmates. When they sat together in class, there was no need to worry that their feelings would not quickly warm up. Before, Zhou Jiajia also wanted to talk to Yang Ming about her amnesia. When she saw that Yang Ming mentioned it first, she hesitated. She didn't know how to open her mouth. She couldn't say that she was pretending to have amnesia, right? Chapter 1051. Zhou Jiajia didn't want to lie to Yang Ming, but she had to lie to him. For Lin Jiyun's excuse, Zhou Jiajia could only use it again. Yang Ming, when I was at home, I looked through the diary I wrote before, and remembered some things. Zhou Jiajia hesitated and said, but, I found out. In fact, I'm not your girlfriend. I have always been chasing you. When Zhou Jiajia said this sentence, it was actually a great determination. Once this sentence was said, then the relationship between the two people would return to the previous good friend relationship. Zhou Jiajia couldn't pretend to be a fool and continue to stay in Yang Ming's house. After all, Yang Ming hadn't accepted her yet. What was the matter with her being here? Yang Ming listened to Zhou Jiejia's words and was suddenly stunned. He didn't expect Zhou Jiejia to remember the previous things. Then, he didn't need to say anything more, so he said, "Jiejia, you remembered it yourself. That's great. I was just about to talk to you about this." Zhou Jiejia's face suddenly turned pale. She said with some sadness, "I remember it all. Yang Ming, you can rest assured. I know what to do. I will move back to the dormitory in school tomorrow." Yang Ming looked at Zhou Jiejia's expression. He was somewhat inexplicable. "Why did you leave just like that? What the hell is going on? Jiejia, what are you talking about? Why do you want to leave? Didn't you just say that it's great?" Zhou Jiejia said with disappointment, "I remember everything. I'm not your girlfriend, so you said that. What are you talking about?" Yang Ming was a little dumbfounded after listening. He said, "Jiejia, what I meant by great is that it's great that you recovered your memory. Ugh, it's not that it's great that you're not my girlfriend. I didn't mean to drive you away. I'm not your girlfriend. Why do I still live in your house?" Zhou Jiejia looked at Yang Ming's nervous and anxious look, and her heart was relieved. "Perhaps, I misunderstood. Yang Ming didn't mean to drive me away at all." Thinking of that night, Yang Ming kissed and hugged her. It didn't seem to be fake, but it seemed that he really liked her. Zhou Jiejia was somewhat happy again. It seemed that she was confused because she was concerned. "Jiejia, in fact, through this incident, I fully understand you. When you were in a coma, I read the diary you wrote before. And know that the incident wasn't your fault, you to be bewitched by others. You too. You." In the beginning, Zhou Jiejia was a little moved when she listened to Yang Ming's words. After all, this was Yang Ming admitting that he forgave her and didn't mind the past, so Zhou Jiejia was still very happy. However, the later words were getting more and more outrageous. Zhou Jiejia suddenly lowered her head embarrassedly. "You, don't talk nonsense, haha, sorry. I digressed from the topic." Yang Ming laughed twice. Sorry. It wasn't intentional." In fact, how was Yang Ming not intentional? He was actually intentional. He saw that the atmosphere between the two was a bit unnatural, so he deliberately said this. Sure enough, the atmosphere became much better than before. Zhou Jiejia was no longer so sad. "Then, you mean?" Zhou Jiejia was a little flustered in her heart. She didn't know what to say. "My meaning is very simple. You like me, and I like you. Now we lack the process of falling in love, but it doesn't matter. Take your time." Yang Ming smiled and said, "You can stay here first. Don't worry. I won't do anything to you. I have always been very serious." Zhou Jiejia thought, if you are serious, then there won't be anyone who is not serious. Obviously, he isn't my boyfriend, but he lied to me. He hugged me, kissed and touched me. Zhou Jiejia couldn't refuse. Thinking of what happened that night, Zhou Jiejia's face was a little hot. However, after hearing Yang Ming's words, Zhou Jiejia was completely relieved. Yang Ming didn't want to drive her away, but he wanted to have a relationship with her again. How could this not make Zhou Jiejia happy? Although being with Yang Ming was her ultimate goal, which girl didn't look forward to a passionate love? The process was also very important. You have Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun. Naturally, you won't be in a hurry. Zhou Jiejia complained. Tonight, isn't it just the two of us? Yang Ming suddenly said with a sly smile. Zhou Jiejia was shocked. She was so scared that she subconsciously leaned against the car door. Although Yang Ming had seen, kissed, and touched her, girls were like this. They would always have conditioned reflexes. I'm just kidding. We have 2 rooms. Yang Ming smiled and said, it's like a book called Cohabitation with the Campus Belle. It's about cohabitation first and then falling in love. Stop it. Zhou Jiejia's face was red as she moved back to her normal position. Hey, are you leaving or not? Someone knocked on the window outside the car. Yang Ming just wanted to talk to Zhou Jiejie, so he parked the car on the side of the road. Now, when he looked up, it was his parking position that delayed the unloading of a supermarket's truck. So, he smiled apologetically, started the car, and drove away. Well, don't think so much. Yang Ming smiled and said, don't blame Meng Yan. She also felt that you had suffered a lot, so she took advantage of your amnesia to make you my girlfriend. How can I blame her? Zhou Jiejie shook her head. I'm very happy that she can accept me. Before this, I was afraid that she would not agree. Meng Yan, this person, seems to be very narrow-minded. In fact, she is very kind. You will know when you get to know her more. Yang Ming smiled and said. And I know. Zhou Jiejie and Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun had slept in the same bed for several days. Naturally, she already understood Chen Mengyan's temper. Right, Yang Ming, I heard from Sister Mengyan that when I was in a coma, Suya came to see me. Is that true? But at that time, I didn't know that she was Suya. I brought her here. Yang Ming said with some emotion, can you imagine? Suya is the big star. Ah. Zhou Jiejie was shocked after listening to Yang Ming's words. She widened her eyes in disbelief. Suya is Shuya. Is this true? Yang Ming, you won't lie to me, right? Chen Mengyan and Zhou Jiejie only briefly mentioned that Suya went to the hospital to see her, but they didn't say so much in detail. So, Zhou Jiejie didn't know that Suya was Shuya. Now, when she heard Yang Ming say this, she was surprised. Yeah, I was also very puzzled at the time, but this is the case. Yang Ming smiled bitterly. For her matter, wait for her to come back and let her tell you herself. She will be very happy to know that you have woken up. Really? Zhou Jiejie was very concerned about Suya's opinion. When she heard Yang Ming say to her personally that Suya not only forgave her, but also worried about her condition, she was very nervous and excited. Of course, it's true. Why would I lie to you? Yang Ming smiled. Zhou Jiejie sat quietly in the front passenger seat, but it seemed that she had returned to the night after Christmas. Before the class reunion, Zhou Jiejie was also sitting in Yang Ming's car. There were only 2 people. In a sense, this was the second time that Zhou Jiejie sat in Yang Ming's car alone. When the 2 people talked about it, Zhou Jiejie was relieved. She was still nervous all the way. She was afraid that she would pass by Yang Ming. However, what surprised her was that Yang Ming put forward a more constructive suggestion to live together first and then fall in love. Thinking about it, Zhou Jiejie felt embarrassed. What if Yang Ming treats me like that night? Zhou Jiejie didn't know why she was looking forward to it, but she was also afraid. It's really contradictory. The car drove slowly on the road. It had just snowed, so the cars on the road didn't drive too fast. When the sun came out, the road was as smooth as a mirror. After getting off the viaduct, the speed became unusually slow. When they passed a crossroad, Yang Ming and Zhou Jiejie found that an old lady with a cane was lying on the ground, groaning in pain. Apparently, it was because the road was slippery and she fell. The cars that passed by would go around a big circle to pass by the old lady, for fear that they would be implicated if something went wrong. Why isn't anyone helping her? Zhou Jiejie frowned and said with some confusion, Yang Ming, stop the car. I'll go down and take a look. Yang Ming smiled bitterly and said, do you think others don't want to help her? I'm just afraid that after I help her, not only will she not thank you, but she will blame you and frame you for hitting her. Ah! Zhou Jiejie was stunned and said, it can't be. Is there such a person who would repay kindness with ingratitude? Didn't the newspaper publish a similar thing a while ago? Yang Ming said, a person helped an old lady out of kindness, but the old lady blamed him and even went to court with him. There are such people. Zhou Jiejie was a little indignant and said, but not everyone is like this, right? Of course, not everyone is like this, but who knows if this is the case? Yang Ming shook his head and said, so, when people encounter such things, they will take a detour and try not to get involved with themselves. But, we can't let her lie on the ground like this. Zhou Jiejie was worried about the old lady's safety. Chapter 1052. It's better to be safe than sorry. Yang Ming smiled helplessly. Let's not talk about other things. Let's talk about a film called The Days of Leaving Lei Feng that was broadcasted on TV. The driver who accidentally reversed the car and hit the pole, killing Lei Feng. After he changed his job, he drove to save an old man, but the old man's child blamed him for it. What was more annoying was that the old man's child actually said that he even dared to hit Lei Feng. Who else wouldn't he dare to hit? He really had a hard time. Zhou Jiejie nodded silently. She didn't know if she should get out of the car. While she was hesitating, she saw a girl walking quickly in the direction of the old man. Song Yu. Yang Ming and Zhou Jiejie recognized the girl at the same time. The girl was Yang Ming and Zhou Jiejie's college classmate. Song Yu was the class monitor of Yang Ming's class. She once participated in public welfare activities to promote civility with Yang Ming. She is going to help the old man. Zhou Jiejie sighed and said with some embarrassment, I'm also the class monitor, but you don't have to feel sorry for yourself. If I didn't say a few more words, you would be the one helping the others now. Yang Ming comforted her. Yeah, I remembered it when you said it. I have to use my mobile phone to record the process of Song Yu saving the old man. You are right. It's better to be safe than sorry. If the old man finds trouble with Song Yu in the future, I can provide evidence. As Zhou Jiejie said this, she took out her mobile phone and ran out of the car. Yang Ming listened to Zhou Jiejie's words and nodded secretly. This girl isn't simple. She knows how to leave evidence for everything. Chen Fei didn't misjudge her when he asked her to help solve Wang Shifan's case. Nowadays, mobile phones were equipped with a camera function. It could easily have a few million pixels. Although it was different from professional camera equipment, it was more than enough to record some ordinary videos. Zhou Jiejie turned the mobile phone to the camera function and then stood aside. From the moment Song Yu ran over to the entire process of saving the old man, Zhou Jiejie completely filmed it. If this old man really wanted to frame Song Yu in the future, then with this video, they wouldn't be able to frame Song Yu. Therefore, after listening to Yang Ming's words, Zhou Jiejie recorded the entire video just in case. When the old woman said thank you, Song Yu helped her get into a taxi and disappeared from sight. Zhou Jiejie got in the car and saved the video in her mobile phone. She said, I saw that the old woman thanked Song Yu. She shouldn't be that kind of person, right? Human nature is hard to predict. Yang Ming waved his hand. This little episode passed just like that. The two of them didn't pay much attention to it. After the old man left, the road became clear. Soon, they arrived at the Huashang district where Yang Ming lived. Xiaoying didn't know how she took a shower. She dried the water droplets on her body and put on her pajamas in a daze. She went out of the bathroom and stood at the top of the stairs. The cold air outside made her wake up a little. Everything was just her own guess. Zhao Ying had no evidence. Besides, condoms didn't have to be used for that. Zhao Ying once read an electronic magazine that said that condoms could be used to repair computer optical drives as a replacement for belts. Of course, the probability of this was very small. Zhao Ying knew that Wang Xiaoyan was not a computer expert. It was impossible for her to repair optical drives. However, perhaps there were other uses for them. Zhao Ying didn't want to think about it and didn't dare to think about it. She needed to be calm, absolutely calm. She had to re-examine her attitude toward Yang Ming. Were these things really important to her? Even if Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan were really together, would it affect her? Zhao Ying had to think about it carefully and find time to seriously consider it. But now, she had to pretend that nothing had happened. She didn't want to question Wang Xiaoyan, and there was no need for that. Wang Xiaoyan naturally had her reasons for not telling her. Zhao Ying didn't want to make the relationship between the two sisters too stiff, so it was better to be a little confused now. Downstairs, Zhao Ying tried to make her expression look more natural. However, Wang Xiaoyan still found that Zhao Ying's smile was a little unnatural. "Sister Ying, what's wrong with you? Why are you smiling so strangely?" Wang Xiaoyan didn't think much of it. She just felt that Zhao Ying's smile was indescribably strange, more like there was a conspiracy. "It's nothing. Maybe it's because I've been in the shower for too long. My facial muscles are a little stiff." Zhao Ying shook her head and said with a smile. "Oh, I've been in the shower for a long time." Wang Xiaoyan stretched on the sofa and said, "I'm going to sleep. Sister Ying, you can stay here tonight. We haven't had a private conversation for a long time." "Aw." Zhao Ying was shocked and quickly refused. "Not tonight. You will start school tomorrow. You have to prepare, and I still have a paper to write." Zhao Ying was afraid that if she stayed with Wang Xiaoyan for too long, she would reveal a flaw. At least not today. She had to go home and adjust her mood. "I have nothing to pack. Besides, I'm just going to report tomorrow and get a new book. There's nothing to do." Wang Xiaoyan said, "Your paper can also be written here." "No, the information is at home. It's too troublesome to bring it here. Next time." Zhao Ying hurriedly waved her hand. "Then I'll go back first, Yin Yin. You're leaving so soon." Wang Xiaoyan was somewhat inexplicable. "Sister Ying, your hair hasn't dried yet. You'll catch a cold if you go out." "It's okay. My house is close. I'll be there soon." Zhao Ying waved to Wang Xiaoyan in a panic, and then quickly walked out the door. "Wait, Sister Ying, I'll send you." Wang Xiaoyan stood up from the sofa and put on her slippers, but she saw that Zhao Ying had already left the door. Wang Xiaoyan was very puzzled. Why did Zhao Ying leave in such a hurry? She shook her head, closed the door, and went upstairs. She was a little sleepy just now. Wang Xiaoyan planned to have a good sleep. In the past few days, Yang Ming was here, so she didn't sleep well for several nights. Wang Xiaoyan was a person who didn't admit defeat. Although she couldn't stand it later, she still gritted her teeth and persisted. Lying on the bed, he fell asleep in a daze. He also put the matter of Zhao Ying to the back of his mind. Yang Ming and Zhou Jiejie returned to the villa together. Auntie Li was wiping the floor. When she saw Yang Ming and Zhou Jiejie come back, she quickly greeted them. After Chen Mengyan went home, Yang Ming didn't return to the villa. He had been staying with Wang Xiaoyan, so he hadn't come back for several days. Zhou Jiejie went upstairs to prepare the things to bring for tomorrow's school start, and Yang Ming was called by Auntie Li. "What's the matter, Auntie Li?" "Auntie Li?" asked Yang Ming. "It's like this." Auntie Li told Yang Ming about the strange behavior of Zhao Ying waiting for him here all night. Although Auntie Li didn't know why Zhao Ying was looking for Yang Ming, she wanted to call Yang Ming, but she didn't let her. When she saw Yang Ming, she still told the whole story to Yang Ming. Yang Ming had learned from Wang Xiaoyan that Zhao Ying was aware of it. He didn't expect that Zhao Ying had been waiting for him here all night. Yang Ming regretted it secretly. No wonder Zhao Ying didn't contact me these days. Did she think that my memory tree would disappear after I sent it out? I didn't expect that Zhao Ying came to find me, and I missed it. Moreover, I hurt Zhao Ying's heart. Thinking of this, Yang Ming was secretly ashamed. It seems that I really have to restrain myself in the future. Now, Zhao Ying is angry with me. It seems that I have to find a time to enlighten her. Fortunately, Wang Xiaoyan had already explained to Zhao Ying that he was just Wang Xiaoyan's fake boyfriend. He hoped that Zhao Ying would believe this reason. It wasn't that Yang Ming didn't want to tell Zhao Ying about his relationship with Wang Xiaoyan, but the relationship between him and Wang Xiaoyan was a bit complicated. It couldn't be explained in a few words, and this relationship wasn't suitable to be publicized. If it was passed to Chen Mingyan's ears, it would be another war. With Wang Xiaoyan's temper, would she be willing to suffer? Maybe something would happen. "I got it, Auntie Li, don't mention this to others," Yang Ming instructed. Yang Ming was afraid that other girls would hear it and create more problems. "Okay, Mr. Yang. I understand." Auntie Li nodded. She also knew that the owner of this house was Yang Ming. As a nanny, naturally, she was only responsible for Yang Ming. In fact, the reason why she waited for Zhou Jiejie to go upstairs before telling Yang Ming about Zhao Ying was because of this reason. Auntie Li did a good job on this point. She was a competent nanny. Although Zhou Jiejie decided to live in Yang Ming's house, she must leave a set of luggage in the school's dormitory. This was only a place to stay on the weekend. She still had to stay in the dormitory most of the time. Yang Ming was the same. He couldn't live here every day. It was okay to occasionally come here to be intimate with Qin Mengyan and Lin Jiyun, but if he lived together blatantly, his parents wouldn't agree. However, Yang Ming's dormitory belonged to the level of a luxury apartment. There was no shortage of things, and he didn't have to worry about losing things during the holidays. Therefore, there were basic necessities. Yang Ming didn't need to bring anything. In the blink of an eye, it was dinner time. Yang Ming and Zhou Jiejie had a dinner that was only for the two of them. It was very warm. Zhou Jiejie also adapted to this kind of life, but she was somewhat disappointed. In the future, there should be few opportunities for the two of us to be alone together, right? Why not? Yang Ming smiled after listening. In the 4 years of university, we will be desk mates. You are superior to Qin Mengyan. At that time, you will be envied by others. Zhou Jiejie thought about it and agreed. Indeed, she would be desk mates with Yang Ming every day. She was looking forward to it. Chapter 1053. In the evening, although Yang Ming wanted to sleep with Zhou Jiejie, he had already said it before. He couldn't go back on his words. Besides, he really had to give Zhou Jiejie some time to adapt. So, after Yang Ming and Zhou Jiejie had dinner, they went back to their respective rooms. Zhou Jiejie went back to her own room, and Yang Ming didn't go to the master bedroom, but he went to the guest room where he slept before. Back in the room, Yang Ming turned on the computer. He wanted to use the identity of a netizen to enlighten Zhao Ying, but he suddenly remembered that Zhao Ying's new house didn't have internet access. Although he had applied for broadband installation, there were too many new users in the community. He had to queue for several days. He casually opened his QQ and saw a small profile picture that kept flashing. It was Little Fox Fairy. Are you there? Are you there? Urgent matter. Contact me immediately after you go online. Little Fox Fairy sent more than a dozen similar messages. Yang Ming was somewhat inexplicable. He didn't know what she was looking for, so he replied, I am here. What's the matter? Yang Ming's message was not sent for long, and Little Fox Fairy replied, something happened to Lele. Do you know? Yang Ming frowned. He didn't know which Little Fox Fairy was referring to. Indeed, something really happened to Huang Lele, but Yang Ming just knew about it. How did Little Fox Fairy know? Therefore, Yang Ming didn't say that he knew, but he didn't say that he didn't know. He just typed, what's the matter? Lele's family is forcing her to get married. Such a big thing, and you really don't know. I don't know what you do as a boyfriend. Little Fox Fairy sent an angry emoji over. Yang Ming saw the message sent by Little Fox Fairy, and he was suddenly stunned. Does Little Fox Fairy really know about Lele's matter? He asked, baffled, how did you know? You don't have to worry about how I know. Do you know about this matter or not? Why aren't you worried at all? Little Fox Fairy said in a hurry. Lele is my wife. I'm not worried, why are you worried? Yang Ming sent a sweating emoji. Nonsense, Lele is my good friend, of course I am anxious. Little Fox Immortal said. I just received the news from another source. How did you know? Yang Ming had some doubts about the identity of Little Fox Fairy. Logically, she shouldn't know about Huang Lele's matter. Huang Lele was under house arrest. Obviously, she could not contact the outside world. How did she find Little Fox Fairy? Yang Ming wanted to find Zhou Jiejie to help investigate the details of Little Fox Fairy. He believed that with Zhou Jiejie's technical strength, it should be easy to find the location where Little Fox Fairy went online. However, Yang Ming hesitated and decided to forget about it. Was he making a mountain out of a molehill? When Yang Ming saw Little Fox Fairy's next words, he suddenly realized that he had almost made a mountain out of a molehill. Lele can go online. However, her computer is limited to chat tools such as QQ. She can only go to the game. She told me in the game. Little Fox Fairy explained. It turned out to be this case. Don't worry. I already know about this. Yang Ming said. What's the use of knowing? You have to find a way to solve it. Little Fox Fairy said in a hurry. It must be solved. I am more anxious than you, but how can it be so easy to go abroad? There must be a time. Yang Ming said. Oh, I am anxious. Then you are busy. I won't bother you during this time. When Lele is fine, you can leave me a message to tell me that you are safe. Little Fox Fairy was surprisingly well behaved today. She didn't pester Yang Ming to play the game. Sure. Yang Ming saw that Little Fox Fairy really cared about Lele and also regarded Lele as a good friend. Yang Ming was also very happy and was more polite to her. How can ordinary netizens worry about these things for others? It seems that Lele is also a fool's blessing. She has a friend who is willing to worry about her. Well, I am going offline. I have been waiting for you until very late every day for a few days. As a result, you are only online today. Little Fox Fairy complained. I am sorry. I have been busy with other things these days. I didn't take the time to go online. Yang Ming explained apologetically. Well, I won't talk to you anymore. I am going to sleep. Tomorrow is the start of school. I have to get up early. Little Fox Fairy said. Yang Ming was stunned. He didn't expect Little Fox Fairy to be a student. Tomorrow is March 1st, the day when Songjiang's various universities officially start school. It seemed that Little Fox Fairy should be a college student. However, what she did had little to do with Yang Ming. Yang Ming didn't want to meet her, so he didn't think much about it. Looking at other people's messages, I am a superstar left a message for Yang Ming. I perform every day. I am so tired. I miss you very much. Although it was a few simple words, it contained Suya's deep love. As a superstar, Suya's every move was under public scrutiny, so she rarely said such childish words, but Yang Ming was an exception. I miss you, too. Jia has woken up. If there is a chance, you should meet. Yang Ming replied. After leaving the message, Yang Ming turned off the computer and put it aside. Looking at Zhou Jiajia's room with X-ray vision, he found that she had slept peacefully. However, the door was not locked. He didn't know if she forgot, or she really didn't guard against him. However, with Zhou Jiajia's careful character, the second possibility should be more likely. That was, Zhou Jiajia believed in him. However, even if he wanted to do something, he believed that Zhou Jiajia would not oppose it. However, Yang Ming couldn't be the kind of person who went back on his words. Since he promised Zhou Jiajia, he wouldn't violate it. Looking at the time on the mobile phone, it was not yet 12 o'clock. It was still early, so Yang Ming tiptoed out of the window and came to Wang Xiaoyan's villa. This kind of sneaky feeling made Yang Ming feel very excited. It was like having an affair. Wang Xiaoyan was sleeping soundly. In a daze, she felt that there was suddenly a person beside her. She was shocked. She suddenly woke up and asked, "Who is it?" Wang Xiaoyan was a little surprised. Why did someone come in, but the alarm in the villa didn't sound? When she saw the familiar figure in the dark, Wang Xiaoyan was relieved and complained, "Yang Ming, what are you doing? You tiptoed in. You scared me to death." The alarms in the villa were installed by Yang Ming himself, so he was very familiar with them. It was normal that Yang Ming didn't trigger the alarm when he came in. "I was afraid that you would miss me, so I came to see you." Yang Ming smiled. "Who misses you? If you didn't come, I would have slept well." Wang Xiaoyan started to sleep after Zhao Ying left. It was about 6 o'clock in the evening. She slept until 12 o'clock now. She slept for 6 hours. She was almost asleep. Yang Ming smiled and climbed into Wang Xiaoyan's bed. Wang Xiaoyan didn't refuse. After all, she also knew that there weren't many opportunities for her to be alone with Yang Ming. It was even more so after school started, and Yang Ming touched the bedside table and suddenly said, "Where are the condoms? Why are they gone? I remember that there are still a few left, right?" These condoms were also bought by Yang Ming and Zhang Jishin from the supermarket. They bought 2 boxes and used 1 box. There should be a few left in the other box. I was afraid that others would see it, so I put it in the bathroom cabinet. Wang Xiaoyan said lazily, "You can go and get it." "Which cabinet?" Yang Ming asked. So troublesome." Wang Xiaoyan complained, "Forget it. I will go and find it." Then she got up and walked out of the room naked. Not long after, Yang Ming heard Wang Xiaoyan scream. He was shocked and quickly asked, "Yan Yan, what happened?" "It's over. It's over." Wang Xiaoyan took the small box and ran back to the bedroom. As she ran, she said, "Today, Sister Ying took a shower here. The towel and underwear were taken from the cabinet. She wouldn't have found this, right?" Yang Ming was stunned, and then he had to smile helplessly. Wang Xiaoyan was really a victim of her own cleverness. She didn't want to be found by others, but she put it in a place where it was easy to be found. He didn't know if Xiao Ying saw it. Yang Ming said, "Did Sister Ying say anything after that?" "No, she went home after the shower." I was quite puzzled at the time. Why was she in such a hurry to go back? Did she really see this? Wang Xiaoyan also blushed. Chapter 1054. Yang Ming naturally went with Qin Mengyan, and Lin Jiyun and Zhou Jijia went together. However, in this way, Qin Mengyan was a little embarrassed. She simply left Yang Ming and went with Lin Jiyun and Zhou Jijia. Only Yang Ming was left. He drove slowly behind, like a bodyguard for the three of them. After arriving at the school, they naturally separated. However, Yang Ming and Zhou Jijia went together. Both of them were in the computer science department. They belonged to the same instructor, so naturally, they went to register together. Walking on the road of the school, they found that in the cold winter, many people were standing in groups in the wind. They were not afraid of the invasion of the cold. After taking a closer look, they realized that various clubs were recruiting. According to the school's regulations, freshmen were in the adaptation stage in the first semester. They were not allowed to join various clubs. In the second semester, after everyone was familiar with the school's system and rules, they could freely join clubs. In fact, this was also to prevent students from being fooled by the propaganda of some clubs when they just entered the first year of college. They would casually join a club and then leave the club. It would become very chaotic and not conducive to the management of the student union and the committee. Therefore, there was such a rule. In the first semester of college, everyone was basically familiar with the various club organizations in the school, so it was easy to join them directly. However, even so, in order to recruit more people, some clubs set up a publicity registration point in the school on the first day of the second semester to win people's hearts. "Students, you are in the computer science department. We are in the computer science club. Join our club." A man and a woman wearing the Songjiang University uniform came over. They held a stack of flyers in their hands and handed one to Yang Ming and Zhou Jijia. "How do you know that we are in the computer science department?" Zhou Jijia asked the boy who handed her the flyer. "This is the computer science teaching building. You are walking in this direction. You must be here to report to the computer science department." The boy stared at Zhou Jijia. His eyes were shining. Over the years, there was a lack of girls in the science and engineering department, let alone beautiful women. A once-in-a-lifetime beauty like Zhou Jijia was simply something that could only be encountered by chance. How could a boy's eyes not light up? If Zhou Jijia were to join the club, wouldn't the others be envious of him, a great contributor? As a result, they started to put in extra effort in recommending him. However, the image of the girl who handed the flyers to Yang Ming was not very good, but there were too many monks and too little porridge. She was the only girl in the club, so she was assigned the job of distributing the flyers. It was better to have something than nothing. Like the computer science department, which was seriously lacking in girls, a single girl could attract a lot of werewolves. When the girls saw that Yang Ming was tall, big, and manly, she felt some admiration for him. He was not like the other people in the club who were either four-eyed or as skinny as firewood. "So that's the case. You are quite observant." Zhou Jijia nodded and smiled. She had always been very interested in computing, so she asked, "What is the main purpose of your club?" Seeing that Zhou Jijia seemed to be interested, the boy was overjoyed and quickly took the two to the temporary club registration office not far away. The temporary registration office was a temporary office consisting of a few tables and a windshield. At the registration office, there were already several students inquiring. Several members of the computer science club who were responsible for explaining were working hard to explain the purpose of the club and the benefits of joining the club to these inquiring students. Our club has reached an agreement with some well-known software companies to help them complete some projects in their spare time. We will get a lot of remuneration. For most students, money was the most attractive. After all, the ultimate purpose of going to university was to make money. Instead of making money after graduation, it was better to make a little money now and accumulate some experience so that they could find a job. Therefore, the promoters of these clubs caught the weakness of the hearts of these students and tempted them to take the bait. However, it couldn't be considered a scam. The Computer Science Club did undertake some small software development, but the basic remuneration was within a few thousand yuan and 10,000 yuan. When it was distributed to a person, it was only a few hundred yuan. Sometimes it would take a semester of work. However, it was better than nothing. There were already many students who began to be active mentally. They picked up the pen and began to fill in the form. President, both of them are freshman computer science students. They are interested in our club. The boy who was responsible for the leaflet brought Yang Ming and Zhou Jiejie to the registration office and said to the guy who talked the most. The one who talked the most was the president of the computer science club, Li Buliang. When Li Buliang heard that there were new students who wanted to join, he quickly drank a mouthful of water and looked up. When he saw Zhou Jiejie, his eyes suddenly lit up. Although Li Buliang already had a girlfriend, he still instinctively swallowed when he saw a beauty. This was a femme fatale. If she was recruited into the computer science club, then he didn't need to advertise himself. Wouldn't those hairy boys rush to join? Li Buliang's eyes turned and decided to put some effort into Zhou Jiejie to recruit her into the computer science club. This was a living signboard. Zhou Jiejie standing here was better than saying 100 words. Sure enough, when Zhou Jiejie stood here, the boys who were still hesitating whether to join the computer science club did not hesitate to sign their names at the bottom right of the registration form. Seeing that this effect was immediate, Li Buliang was even more excited. He made up his mind to win Zhou Jiejie. 2 students, please sit down. Li Buliang gave the girl a look and asked her to greet Yang Ming. This was the only girl. There was no way. He could only use her. The girl brought chairs for Yang Ming and Zhou Jiejie and asked them to sit down. Li Buliang cleared his throat and began to say, "Our computer science club is a comprehensive club organization that integrates the development, use, and maintenance of computer hardware and software." Speaking of this, Zhou Jiejie's expression was as usual. She didn't show any intention of joining or not joining. Li Buliang knew that these ordinary things couldn't attract Zhou Jiejie, so he turned his eyes and said, "Moreover, our computer science club is a hacker organization." Ha! The few students who wanted to join the computer science club were stunned. They looked at Li Buliang curiously. Hackers were a mysterious existence in the eyes of many college students. Hackers were like internet heroes. They were chivalrous on the internet, punishing the strong and helping the weak. They were proud in the ocean of the internet. College students were people with a strong sense of justice. Especially when national interests were damaged, they would stand up, shout angrily, and be filled with righteous indignation. At this time, if they saw a hacker organization that hacked the websites of hostile forces that harmed national interests and hung the national flag, they would be excited and excited. When they heard Li Buliang say that the school's computer science club was actually a hacker organization, how could they not be interested? One by one, they widened their eyes and waited for Li Buliang to continue speaking. Although Li Buliang knew a little about hacking technology and was also a peripheral member of a small hacker group, he was far from the core. Not to mention attacking foreign official websites, even attacking the campus internet was somewhat difficult. However, Li Buliang felt that girls worshipped heroes. Hackers were mysterious heroes. Since Zhou Jiejie was a computer enthusiast, then she must have heard of hackers. Li Buoyang looked at the stunned students around him with some pride. Finally, his eyes fell on Zhou Jiejie, but he was disappointed to find that Zhou Jiejie's expression was still very calm. Li Buoyang didn't give up and continued, for example, I participated in the challenge between the Summer of Youth Hacker Group and the American Hacker Group in the past. Oh? Is that so? Zhou Jiejie finally reacted. She looked at Li Buoyang and asked. Chapter 1055. The King of Hackers. The students standing on the side all showed an expression of amazement. The King of Hackers was an ultimate mysterious existence. In the field of computer science in China, no one did not know this name. He was a genius in the hacker world, but no one knew whether he was a man or a woman, and how old he was. They only knew that no computer problem could baffle him. The president of the computer club, Li Buoyang, seemed to know I love little Ming. A few members who were good at flattering immediately asked, President Li, do you know the King of Hackers? Li Buoyang looked around, then lowered his voice and said, let me tell you. Don't spread it out. I am actually the apprentice of the King of Hackers. The kind of disciple that enters the door. Hey! Everyone was shocked. So badass. Just a so. Li Buoyang said with some pride. How old is the King of Hackers? Someone asked curiously. The King of Hackers, oh, about the same age as us. Li Buoyang immediately realized that he was exaggerating. If these people kept asking about the King of Hackers, how was he supposed to answer them? So he quickly said, I can't talk about the King of Hackers casually. Next, I will tell you about his heroic deeds. Okay. These people standing here were more or less computer fans, so they were particularly interested in hacking. They were all in a serious state of listening. You guys know, right? In 1998, there was an extremely awesome virus called CIH that broke out all over the world. A normal virus only destroys the system's software. As long as there is no important data, the problem can be solved by reinstalling the system. But this CIH is different. It is the first virus in the world that can destroy computer hardware. It can destroy the motherboard by rewriting the BIOS information, causing the motherboard to stop working. Li Buoyang said in high spirits, although it is possible to repair the failed motherboard by disassembling the computer and rewriting the BIOS chip with a programmer, this is a chip-level repair plan. It is not suitable for ordinary computer users. Therefore, when this virus broke out, computer users in the world fell into panic. At this time, a hero suddenly appeared. On a virus professional forum, he suddenly anonymously announced a special killing tool that could completely kill the CIH virus. This was faster than those antivirus manufacturers. It was because he announced the virus's characteristic code that the CIH virus was quickly recognized by people and was immunized and prevented on a large scale. Most of the people present had heard of this shocking virus, but they didn't know what this had to do with the King of Hackers. One person couldn't help but ask, President, you mean that the anonymous hero is the King of Hackers? Yes. This was also known to everyone a long time after the incident. Li Buoyang nodded proudly as if he knew the big inside story. He continued to say to the crowd, this matter has been going on for a few years until the internet became popular. The name of the King of Hackers on the internet resounded throughout the country. One day, a computer enthusiast had nothing to do. He decompiled the virus-killing tool released by the anonymous user and found that there was a ++ mark at the end of the code. ++. Isn't the King of Hackers called I Love Xiaoming? What does it have to do with ++? Many people showed puzzled expressions. Could it be a symbol written by someone else casually? No. 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 Li Buoyang waved his hand with an unfathomable look and said, "Of course, it wasn't written casually. I love Xiao Ming is the ID of the king of hackers, but this ++ symbol is his code name. Looking at the habits of some of the hacking tools he wrote in the future, it can be seen that all the program code, without exception, will have this ++ symbol at the end of the annotation." As Li Buoyang said this, he picked up the pen and wrote two + symbols on the paper in front of him. "Ah!" Everyone opened their mouths in surprise and said in surprise, "It turns out to be like this. The king of hackers is really low-key. He didn't even say such a big thing." Of course, the king of hackers is a very low-key person. Besides, his reputation is already loud enough. There is no need to put gold on his face. Li Buoyang nodded and said, "Then, has no one decompiled the killing tool before?" Some people asked curiously. Of course, someone must have decompiled it. Li Buoyang said affirmatively. However, at that time, the king of hackers was not famous. Even if others decompiled it, they wouldn't think much about it. Just like what you said, they would think that it was just a symbol written casually. Yes, two + symbols. Who would pay attention to it? Everyone nodded and said yes. Moreover, this king of hackers, every time our national interests are damaged, he will stand up and express our anger in his own way. Li Buoyang said, "Many foreign hostile websites were paralyzed overnight. President, since you are his disciple, you must be very powerful, right?" Everyone asked enviously. "I just learned some superficial knowledge. There is still a long way to go. There is still a long way to go." Li Buoyang didn't dare to continue to brag. If someone found out that he wasn't powerful, wouldn't it be shameful? Zhou Jiejia's eyebrows were full of smiles, which made Li Buoyang overjoyed. She quickly said, "How is it? The computer club is very powerful, right? Do you want to join?" "Yang Ming, what do you think?" Zhou Jiejia thought about it and turned to ask Yang Ming. "I don't know, but I heard the president say that he is the disciple of the king of hackers. He should be very powerful, right?" Yang Ming said, "It just so happens that I also want to learn some hacking skills. Why don't we join?" "Okay." Zhou Jiejia didn't care, but since Yang Ming joined, she naturally followed her husband's lead. She nodded and said, "We will join." Li Buoyang was overjoyed. He quickly handed two forms to Yang Ming and Zhou Jiejia, and then told them how to fill it out. Only then did he sigh in relief and drink water. Yang Ming and Zhou Jiejia filled out the forms and handed them to the computer club for review. At this time, a large group of people continued to fill out the forms and prepared to join the computer club. With the beauty effect of Zhou Jiejia, coupled with Li Buoyang's speech just now, many people were interested in the computer club. Of course, Li Buoyang also knew that his bragging was a bit too much, but it didn't matter. Since he could attract more people to join the club, there was nothing wrong with bragging more. Anyway, his hacking knowledge was quite good. He would show them some basic skills when the time came. After signing up and leaving the contact information, Yang Ming and Zhou Jiejia got up and walked in the direction of the teaching building. It was not far from the time to register, so the two couldn't stay at the registration office. "Yang Ming, do you like hacking skills?" Zhou Jiejia asked with some joy. "Of course, if I am not interested in this, can I apply for the computer science department?" Yang Ming smiled and said, "Right, how can I forget you? I have a computer genius beside me. Why would I join that club?" Yang Ming's interest in computers was not false, but the most important point was that as a professional assassin, he must be proficient in everything. Now that technology was developing rapidly, hacking skills had become a means of war, so Yang Ming must also understand it. Fong Tian was lacking in this regard. He couldn't teach Yang Ming anything, so he could only rely on Yang Ming to explore it himself. Zhou Jiejia listened to Yang Ming's appreciation, and her face suddenly turned red, but her heart was sweet. She hesitated and said, "It is also good to join some clubs. At least, it can enrich my life after school." "That's right. Just think of it as dating you." Yang Ming nodded and said. Zhou Jiejia's face was even redder. She didn't know how to answer Yang Ming's question. In her impression, Yang Ming had always been a very serious person, but she didn't expect that when she was close to Yang Ming, she found out that he was so perverted. "Right, Jiejia, do you know the king of hackers?" Yang Ming was the king of assassins. Naturally, he was very interested in the king of hackers. If there was a chance, it would be good to know him. "I know him. What's wrong?" Zhou Jiejia hesitated and asked. "Nothing. I just want to know him." Yang Ming smiled and said, "Are you familiar with him?" "It's okay." Zhou Jiejia nodded. "Is that Li Buoyang really his apprentice?" Yang Ming asked in a gossipy manner. "Who knows, but it shouldn't be. The king of hackers doesn't accept apprentices." Zhou Jiejia shook her head and said. "I see. I think he is like a liar. It's over. I'm fooled this time." Yang Ming said with a bitter smile. "Hee hee." Zhou Jiejia saw Yang Ming's expression and found it funny. "If you want to learn hacking skills, I can let you worship the king of hackers as your teacher." "You? Really?" Yang Ming's eyes widened. "You have such a big face." "Hey, Jiejia, tell me. What is your name in the hacker world? Is it also very famous?" "Me? I won't tell you." Zhou Jiejia smiled slyly. "You will know in the future." Yang Ming nodded and no longer asked. When the two entered the teaching building, they couldn't talk loudly anymore. According to the notice, the two came to the upstairs classroom 413. This was the registration location for the computer class 1 and 2. The tutor, Xia Yongqiang, was sitting on the podium, registering the students who came to the classroom. When he saw Zhou Jiejia coming, he quickly asked her to come over and help. Zhou Jiejia's injury and hospitalization were very low-key, and Xia Yongqiang was not informed. Therefore, he didn't know that so many things happened to Zhou Jiejia during this holiday, so his expression was as usual. There was nothing wrong with it. Chapter 1056. Some people came, and some people couldn't come anymore. Wang Jitao was one of them. In the freshmen of Songjiang University, such a person was always missing. What puzzled Yang Ming the most was that Wang Jitao's body was not found, but it was not surprising when he thought about it. The place where Wang Shui killed was relatively far from the shore. If she encountered a shark or something like that, she would directly eat him up until the bones were not left. Yang Ming found a seat and sat down. It was the seat where Yang Ming usually sat. What made Yang Ming surprised was that it didn't take long for Tian Donghua and Wang Shui, the adulterous couple, to walk into the classroom hand in hand. They went straight to Yang Ming and sat directly next to Yang Ming. "I say, aren't you going to report to your department? What are you doing in our class?" Yang Ming looked at Tian Donghua, who sat next to him, and was a little dumbfounded. "I don't care so much. I don't know anyone in that class. Why should I go?" Tian Donghua said indifferently, "Anyway, the counselors in our department know me. They know why I came to this school, so they don't care about me." Yang Ming shook his head and didn't say anything. Tian Donghua, the young master, was paid, so he didn't care much about him. He just let him do whatever he wanted. Wang Shui didn't know that Zhou Jiejia had woken up. When she saw Zhou Jiejia standing at the podium and helping Xia Yongqiang register, she was shocked. Jie, you. I'm fine. Zhou Jie smiled slightly. I will tell you in a while. There are many people now. Oh, okay. Wang Shui recovered, and her face showed an apologetic and embarrassed expression. It could be said that Wang Shui also had a large part of the responsibility for Zhou Jie's injury. After all, Wang Jitao was her half-brother. Although Wang Jitao died in her hands, she still felt guilty when she saw Zhou Jie. How was the holiday? Tian Donghua drank his drink casually and asked Yang Ming. In one word, busy. Yang Ming sighed. I basically didn't have a break during the holidays. Hey, who asked you to have so many girlfriends? Tian Donghua smiled. Look at me. I only have one. I'm bored to death every day. How is your relationship with Wang Shui? Yang Ming asked. Of course, Yang Ming was asking about Wang Jitao. It's all right. Wang Shui has also repented. Tian Donghua said, during this period of time, she has been very cautious, afraid that I will not be satisfied. Actually, I am mainly afraid that you will feel awkward when you see her. I don't care. You don't have to worry about me. Yang Ming patted Tian Donghua's shoulder and said, it's all in the past. Wang Shui had her own difficulties at that time. However, I'm afraid that Jie will take things too hard. Tian Donghua nodded silently and expressed his understanding. He hesitated and clenched his teeth. If Zhou Jie really doesn't forgive her, then I can only break up with her. It's not that serious. I will talk to Jie. You two should stop being awkward. Otherwise, we will all be sinners. Yang Ming smiled. Tian Donghua smiled gratefully. After all, he didn't want to break up with Wang Shui. Tian Donghua was a person who valued relationships. If he wanted to break up, he would have done so long ago. He wouldn't have dragged it until now. What's more, this guy was born to be affectionate. Wasn't the reason why he transferred to school and fought because of girls. Xiao Qing had something to do last night. Because a new batch of computers had arrived in the department, Xiao Qing had to personally lead the teachers in the department to assemble and debug them. She was busy until the middle of the night, so the plan to go to Lu Weishan with Yang Ming could only be ruined. However, it allowed Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan to fool around for another night. School had just started these few days. Xiao Qing wasn't sure if she had time, so she could only make an appointment to contact them by phone. In addition to teaching normal courses this semester, Xiao Qing also taught an elective course of advanced computerized accounting. This elective course was for graduate students in the economics department. What made Xiao Qing feel interesting was that Sun Jia actually became her student. Looking at Miss Sun, who was sitting quietly in the classroom, Xiao Qing couldn't help but laugh. Hello, my name is Zhao Ying. Zhao Ying was very friendly and reached out to her new desk mate. She secretly looked at her new desk mate. Impeccable face and sexy figure. But why is her chest so big? It's a bit like a big papaya. Sun Jia, nice to meet you. Sun Jia smiled slightly and also reached out her hand in a friendly manner. She shook hands with Zhao Ying. You are very beautiful. If it was a man who said this to Zhao Ying wouldn't feel anything. After all, she was used to it. However, when it was said by a woman, it made Zhao Ying a little embarrassed. You are also very beautiful, Sun Jia smiled slyly. You see, many people are jealous of us. Jealous of us? Why? Zhao Ying was somewhat inexplicable. However, when she looked up, she did see a lot of covetous eyes. Universities that focused on science and engineering were already full of wolves but not enough meat. It was even more so when it came to the graduate class. Not to mention beautiful women, one might not even see a few aunties. Sun Jia and Zhao Ying, these beautiful women who were one in a million, actually gathered together at the same time. It was difficult not to be noticed by others. They are jealous of me sitting with you, and they are also jealous of you sitting with me. Sun Jia giggled and whispered. It was rare to meet a girl in graduate school who was more pleasing to the eye and not arrogant. Sun Jia also wanted to be friends with her. Sun Jia was basically lonely in university. Although she had Xiaoqing as a companion, the relationship between the two people was very nondescript. It was not until now that it slowly became normal. After she became a graduate student, in addition to some boys who liked to court her, there were a few nerdy girls in the class. Sun Jia couldn't find a friend to talk to. Now she met Zhao Ying. Not only was she clean and beautiful, but she also took the initiative to greet her. She didn't seem to have so many bad intentions, so Sun Jia had a good impression of Zhao Ying. Ah! Zhao Ying was stunned and understood Sun Jia's meaning. She smiled embarrassedly. Let them be jealous, why? Are you disdainful of boys' eyes? Sun Jia looked at Zhao Ying with a smile and said, let me guess. You must have a problem with your sexual orientation, ah. Zhao Ying was embarrassed. She didn't expect Sun Jia to say this. Her face turned red, and she quickly denied, I have no problem. Don't worry. I haven't finished yet. Sun Jia said with some amusement, do you want it? You already have a boyfriend, don't you? When it came to boyfriends, Zhao Ying's face suddenly darkened. She thought of Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan. Zhao Ying shook her head and smiled bitterly. How can I have a boyfriend? Seeing Zhao Ying's look, Sun Jia suddenly felt a bit strange. Why does Zhao Ying's expression and tone seem to be lovelorn? Such an excellent girl should be the focus of attention in the school, right? However, since she just met Zhao Ying, Sun Jia naturally wouldn't ask too much. When the two people were familiar with each other, Zhao Ying would tell her things to her. Thinking of her and Xiaoqing's past, then it wasn't very strange. Sun Jia even thought, does Zhao Ying have a sad love history like me? The graduate student class started very early, so now it was already the normal class time. Xiaoqing explained the use of some professional financial software in front, and Zhao Ying was taking notes seriously. Although the course name was Computerized Accounting, in addition to the application of some financial software, Xiaoqing also explained the use of some professional management software. With the development of the times, the company's management had also been streamlined from the initial overstaffed organization to a software that could replace the current situation of many departments. Therefore, although this course was only an elective course, many graduate students in the economics department still chose this course. Zhao Ying finished taking notes and breathed a sigh of relief. She looked at Sun Jia from the corner of her eyes, but she was surprised to find that Sun Jia was just listening to Xiaoqing's explanation, but she didn't record anything in the notebook. She asked curiously, Sun Jia, why don't you take notes? This software is already used in my company. I already know most of the functions and operations. Now I'm just listening to see if there are any details and special functions that I missed. Sun Jia smiled. Ah. Your company. Zhao Ying was stunned and said in surprise, you started a company yourself. It's just a small company. Sun Jia said, just a small business. If you have time, can you show me around? Zhao Ying looked at Sun Jia with admiration, but she didn't expect that this beautiful student who was a graduate student like her was actually the boss of a company. Of course. Sun Jia nodded. But today is not possible. There are classes all day. When we are done with class, the company is also off work. And any day is fine. Zhao Ying saw that Sun Jia agreed and was very happy. In a few words, the relationship between the two was closer. Sun Jia was more accurate in judging people. From Zhao Ying's eyes, it could be seen that this girl belonged to the kind of person who was very kind and didn't have bad intentions. Therefore, Sun Jia was relieved to talk to her. Although Sun Jia wasn't afraid of anything, Sun Jia was also more annoyed to provoke some snobbish friends who wanted to take advantage of her. Zhao Ying was obviously not. When Zhao Ying wanted to visit the company, Sun Jia only saw surprise and curiosity in her eyes. There was no greed and utility. You shouldn't be a graduate student directly after graduation, right? Asked Sun Jia. Yeah. How do you know? Zhao Ying asked very strangely. She didn't expect Sun Jia to be able to see this. It's very simple. Because when you were talking to me, you didn't know how to be sneaky. You were stupidly seen by the teacher. Sun Jia said with a smile, if you were a student, you should know how to avoid the teacher's sight, right? Ah. Zhao Ying was embarrassed. She was originally a teacher. How could she know these little tricks of students?